welcome back. That's us. Wonderful. So this is us coming back to Dragon Spark. We are. Last week we ended things off with having us exploring Oscar, one of Soren's wonderful allies, and Needles obviously went back to their family, and has discovered a conflict of interest. And that there is someone in their church that is also not quite sold on the whole killing innocents randomly idea. So dull, as Stan puts it. We should just join every cult. We should kill gods and join cults. Yeah. What's that old D&D expression? Burn towns, get money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a murder for money.
Yes. Murder for money. So we were exploring the city of Dragonspark, the ancient necromancing city of Dragonspark, where undead roam everywhere, and for some reason there is a lot of cultish activity going on.
Wonder why.
How could that be? Iona's wonderful ally, or I should say Soren's wonderful ally, Oscar, was talking about they've been hired for jobs as protection jobs because people are getting nervous about the amount of unusual deaths in the local area, and are paying a ridiculous sum of money for essentially easy bodyguard work, assuming nothing goes wrong. On that note, the party was given directions to the local town hall where there are boards that can be posted for job ads, things like people looking for bodyguard work, and the party made their way there, discovering that the town hall was made out of the ancient skull of a gigantic dragon. This skull is easily 1,000 times bigger than anything that the party has seen previously, except for Stan, who claims his Uncle Tex was bigger. Everything's bigger in Tex. So the party went to a job board, and that's where we left things off last week.
Yes.
I will say, now that we are gathered, I can send probably the most interesting thing from the job board. Let's, if you all look at the group chat, hopefully it loads. Hopefully it loads soon.
Oh.
You see what looks to be some sort of recruitment poster, talking about Corellian the Lightbringer, a wonderful founder of the Seldarine Pantheon, the father of all elves. Who knows what else?
The loser.
If Stan would like to describe what you find there, as you are looking at the board, something catches your eye pretty aggressively.
Oh my gosh.
I see. So, I'm just gonna look at that and go, oh my god, I know that guy. He's the... Oh yeah, he's the fairy that the fairy, but that's Andy. But that's before.
As you take it off the board to get a closer look and to try and read some stuff, you guys see that on the back, very vividly, there is a logo.
Ooh, shady.
Ooh, I like that. Oh, yay. Have we seen this before?
Make me either a history or a religion check. So what you guys see is that there is this poster of Corellian striking a valiant pose, with some writing that's quite difficult to make out, but it seems to be talking about that there is cultish activity in the city, that there is an attack from the Underdark bringing things to the surface, and the 8 above, referring to the flying cities. And it says, please, any information to the local Seldarine representatives, meaning the Seldarine Church, which is the Elvish pantheon. And then there is, on the back of it, as well as in huge bright red writing all over the front, is the word traitor, that looks to be probably not part of the original design, possibly graffiti. And on the back you can see that there is a gold mask with glowing blue eyes against a backdrop of stars. What's your history? A 3. You do not recognise this logo. It is a mask.
It is a mask. 4.
A 4. You do not recognize this logo, although you do feel like you should. It's one of that. It's one of those ones that's panging in the back of your head, going, "Oh, I've seen that somewhere."
19.
19.
Of course.
Stan.
Oh, God.
You're pretty confident. You're pretty confident that this, on a 19, you're actually 50-50 on two deities. This could be two separate people. There's a title that comes to mind. Let me just send you the information. No, Saloon is not one of the ones that come to mind.
Or if I could just send you the information, you just immediately read it out loud.
Yeah, then.
That's the first one.
The guy. The guy. It's someone on your murder list.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
They seem
I
to
would
do it.
I would be surprised if Vinny has heard of these deities.
Oh.
And that is the second one. A small amount of context. You know that these two share a lot of domains because of the fact that there are different races and different belief systems. So that, like, the Seldarine have a god of creation and light, but there is so many civilizations that are like, oh look, the sun. There are hundreds of gods of light. These two spring to mind because these are both specifically gods that have association with masks, with mystery, with starlight. These are both trickery domain. These are both war domain. It's a very similar. You know that Blackheart is part of a pantheon that's kind of ambiguous. There's quite a lot of neutral races that worship Blackheart, and you know that Veroon is an elvish deity. And you can't remember if they are Seldarine or Dark Seldarine or High Elven or Underdark, or you can't quite remember. You're feeling like they might be bad, but there's Starlight, so that's not usually Underdark, and there's a lot of things going on that you're just like, it's tough to narrow this down. And also, both of them being trickery related, graffiti is definitely within that shadowiness.
Just a bit of banter.
Just a bit of
A
banter.
bit of banter, bro.
Godly band.
I'm gonna turn around and go, alright guys, you two are complete imbeciles. I'm gonna just turn around, look them dead in the eye and go, it's either Blackheart, I think, or Veroon. I'm assuming it's Veroon because they've just scribbled over that elf guy whose name does not spring to mind.
Their
I'm
name
not gonna
is
say-
on the poster.
That elf guy does not spring to mind.
It's hard to make it out, I suppose.
So I'm assuming it's Veroon. Case closed. You're welcome.
I mean,
As he says Beirun, that does ring some bell to you. You do seem that is maybe some connection to someone that you might have heard of before.
but why would they? Why just if you were going to graffiti a bunch of stuff, like why this specific thing? Why not everything on the board?
Correct body, isn't it though?
You do look, and it is the only thing that's graffitied. Everything else seems to be pretty standard job offers. There seems to be quite a lot of protection related stuff. But the text on the poster is probably of note. I don't know if anyone would like to volunteer to read that out.
Yeah, they're trying to stop cults.
Darn! Oh no! What is the recruitment?
So, the text more clearly says, the coronal calls to you. Salon and Bahamut have called on the Father, and we must scourge the recent rise of cultish activity from the surface. We suspect that there has been underdark activity on the surface and in the 8 above. Please send any information to your local Seldarine representatives.
I don't suppose there's any way we could tell how long this poster has been.
Looks relatively new. It looks relatively new in that it's close to the front of the job listings, and you know that there are people that are like in the city that are relatively new. You've heard that there's new people coming in, and it kind of makes sense to use that it would be a little bit more recent. There's no real frayed edges or anything.
DM question.
Mhm.
How quickly, like, is there, other than, like, sending letters,
Mhm.
is there ways for news to travel quickly across the cities? And stuff?
Make me an Arcana check to see if any magic springs to mind.
What's everything like? 11.
11. Pretty standardly, there are like sending stones, really big thing. There is the sending spell. There are certain wizards that can teleport. There is like obviously you're not quite sure how fast some of the ships travel, but if there was like messengers doing that, that might be more quick than the sort of surface dwelling, like let's ride a horse there. There's also like birds that can fly at ridiculous speed. You're not really sure if that's sort of teleportation or that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. You've probably heard of mirrors as well, like two-way communication mirrors.
Okay. I'm slightly concerned. I mean, there's a lot to talk in this city alone of cultish activity, a lot to do with the Underdark. Not too many fingers or naming any names, but
You would just stare at the uniforms like.
I am slightly concerned that news from the smokestacks
Mhm.
may either have already reached other cities, or if when it does reach other cities, that things may get worse. Because I mean, who could possibly been involved, but there was rather high up member of the courts that was murdered recently or disappeared recently. Well, I don't know. I've just heard through the grapevine, but if
Terrible.
there is already panic about cultish activity and things, and it could make things worse. I'm just saying we should maybe be on the lookout for things like that.
See, I get what you're saying, but low profile. How are we gonna earn money if we keep a low profile? Come on.
Well, I don't mean like we go into hiding. I mean maybe we don't rob things immediately or give people our names when we rob them. You know,
As you're talking in this public forum, standing in front of the job board, talking
Oh.
about various acts of crime and assassination, you see that there is a very flamboyantly dressed person. Sort of, you would almost describe them as prancing forward
Towards us.
towards the job board.
Okay.
And you can see that they sort of prance their way up. Very tall, pale, slender, long blonde hair, proper pointed ears. They post something to the job board, hammer that up, and get the fuck out of there.
It's the same thing again, isn't it?
You see an unedited version of the poster.
Is it the elf in the poster?
No, it does look shockingly similar, but it is a very prancy looking elf that you would almost describe as classically elven. That sort of, if you were to have a drawing of an elf that was just the most generic stick figure drawing, it had all these parts.
Is it possible to try talk to them or?
Sure, if you want to try and talk to them.
Okay.
As they're just finishing putting it on the board, and you can see an unedited version of the photo, which is
And we're all still here clutching.
you're all
the
still
one
there
that says
clutching the edited
straight.
one. Yeah.
I have to just be like, oh, excuse me.
Hello.
Hi. We just saw your lovely poster and we wanted to get some more information. I assume you would be the person to speak to.
Well, no, I'm more of an intermediary. I'm one of the clerics of Salem in the area, and we are working together with the Allfather, and he sort of touches his chest and looks at the sky as he does it, and you can see a tear down his eye. The All-Father has called upon us to work together to rid the scourge of this evil.
Interesting.
Are you interested in joining? And he's sort of like genuine smile of interest.
Perhaps. We wanted to get some more information.
You can come with me if you'd like. I'm just about to head back home,
Would we like to?
back to camp.
Absolutely, I'm so intrigued by this individual. Where are you staying?
Oh, we are renting out some barracks that used to be part of the city militia. It does seem as though there is no militia anymore. We were slightly concerned at the prospect of no local government law enforcement.
Yeah, we had no.
However, we are starting to police the local area ourselves.
I see. Well, yeah.
And he bows very low and introduces himself as Lithrandria.
I'm
do
writing
you spell
that
that?
down.
You have no idea. It's High Elvish, and if you don't speak High Elvish, you do not know how to spell this name. Lithandria.
I speak Elvish.
You don't speak High Elvish. You are horrified by the sound of this word. Your draconic nature it would almost be difficult to pronounce this.
Sorry. I mean, no offense. Is there a shorter name you could call me? Something. I'm bad with names, and that's a long name. I've got a bad.
My name represents the starlight shining upon a pond during the full moon. If you would like the proper Elvish translation, I can give you the sentence that accompanies it. However, that's kind of the shortest version of my name. Lathrandri.
Would you be offended if I called you Twinkle?
Another tear.
Is that a compliment?
No.
or a thing? No to offend you or no to... No point.
He grins.
Twinkles it is. Twinkles it is.
Thanks, Twinkle.
Needles is going to be very polite. Say it's very nice to meet you, Lefandre.
Yes. This
Well,
does seem almost like the Underdark, and there is an Underdark language, but you definitely speak High Elvish. You've been around sort of the cult of Lolth long enough that the Seldarine language, that Lolth is a part of the Seldarine pantheon, although she's kind of the antagonist of the pantheon. She's technically still a part of it. Their main language is High Elvish, so a lot of her scripture is written in High Elvish. And if you'd like the spelling, actually, Needle can have it. Needle can definitely spell this name.
Elvish.
Right, you can have your left hand in the air. I'll keep my Twinkle.
I'll also keep Twinkles.
Standard good idea sometimes, see?
I was gonna call him Fawn.
Oh, I was close. Andrea.
Yes.
Hello. A kitty.
Yes, so he starts off. He's more than happy to immediately take you back to his home base.
Oh, it's gonna be so easy to do. It's almost sad how easy it's gonna be.
We run to catch up, I guess.
Yeah. As you're walking through the city, let me just bring up the map.
I like just writing things in my notes with no context. There's like a big description of the poster and then just the word Twinkles.
So, as you guys are walking through, you notice that instead of going back the way you came, which would be deeper towards the backside of the city, you start heading more towards the front. You actually walk round where the dragon skull is, and you're sort of walking around the edges of the skull. You realise that the skull itself is an open maw that's sort of acting as a docks, that basically the ships, it's wide enough that 2 lanes of ships, one coming in and one coming out, can go, and that's where they are using as sort of a trading bit of like loading things in, loading things out. You notice that the things coming in are much sparser than the things coming out. It looks as if there's not much intake, but there's a lot of outtake going through at the moment. And yeah, you can, as you're walking through, you are seeing the same sort of gothic low-level fog. You're talking it is a cloudy day. There seems to be a light drizzle going on, and then as you're walking through, you can see that there's this old abandoned barracks building that is like it's definitely a disheveled building. You can see that there is like shattered glass windows. You can see that the sort of whole thing is in a general state of disrepair, but you can also see that it is the only area of the city that the sun is shining on. There is just a single beam of light shining down upon it, and you can see that there's actually grass poking through the cobbles in the area nearby. You can see small daisies peeking up through the cobbles. The fog around it sort of clears as you enter into it. You can smell like fresh roses and fresh cut grass. It gives you that proper feeling of this early spring. You're going into a very lush verdant area, and you can see just elves everywhere. Elves and Dragonborn.
Tell me.
There are maybe 40 to 50 people sort of milling around this area. You can see that the barracks is big enough to hold sort of, not necessarily battalions, but sort of like a police precinct level of people of just like going about their daily business. So it does look a little underpopulated with these sort of 40 to 50 elves and Dragonborn. You can see that the elves are all wearing like floor-length silk robes, and they're sort of swooshing around, and they're just sort of flaunting around, and they don't seem to be doing much, but they are going around talking to each other. You can see that some of them are just like praying in a corner quietly. You can see that one of them is trying to cultivate little bits of grass, making sure that the local area is healthy. There are like birds flying in that are sort of like these like dark crows that are coming into this area, and then they're being fed little bits of scraps. And you can see that there are Dragonborn that are the total opposite end of the spectrum. They are repairing things. They are fixing up the barracks. They're changing the glass panes. You can see that there are people setting up workshops. There are big chromatic and metallic Dragonborns that are in full plate armor, that are sparring, that are making sure that they're on top form. You can see the general level of work here seems to be being done by the Dragonborn, and the elves are supervising at best. And Lathrandria wanders through and sort of bows to every elf that he goes by. He shakes everybody's hand and speaks to them, and he introduces you to a very, very old-looking elf. This is, especially for a high elf, anyone showing age must be ancient. And this high elf female is sitting by sort of a small well that they seem to have dug themselves and are trying to cultivate some sort of fresh water to come here. You can see that she's praying to maybe a religion check to see if anyone recognises the prayers or any of her accoutrements.
Oh my god.
18.
18. You recognise this from 50 feet away. This is one of the most obvious examples of a Corellian cleric that you have ever seen. This is like when you're in Loth Camp, the like horror stories that you hear around the fire of these elves that are the enemy and the traitor gods. This is like the most stereotypical version of that you've ever seen in your life. It's like all the fears of your religious upbringing being like, these people will try and corrupt you, these people, these are the people. And showing pictures of that, this is the kind of stuff. They're all wearing, she's got this massive medallion at the front of her chest that's just, clearly, if she was to like misplace it, it would definitely stab someone. It's got big sunbeam light like things going off, and she's wearing all white robes with like a golden sunset on her back. She's got her hair braided in two sections down, like proper, like sort of pigtailed teen girl style hair, but as a you would guess if she was in human years, like 95 years old, which for an elf is outrageously long lived.
Got so much whimsy.
And she is praying to Corellia, and you can hear her muttering in High Elvish. And you understand that she's praying for water to come so that the local area can be reborn.
I feel like Nito would just be looking at all of this with just like twinkles in their eyes, but also like kind of scared. Like you'd be like,
Yeah, yeah. And Lithrandir waits for them to finish, and you guys stand there in silence for how long?
Um, can I glance around and see? Is it only the Dragonborn that are carrying weapons, or any of the elves?
You don't see any elves carrying anything at all.
Okay. Cool.
The elves don't even like make me a perception check.
That was perception. 13.
You would guess that these elves don't even have possessions. To the level of like they don't have pockets, they don't seem to be carrying anything. They're all wearing clothes, and then given their sort of the monkish nature of the feel of this, you're getting a lot of like not necessarily vow of poverty, but like anything that they had to give would be given immediately if anyone was to ask for it.
Okay. Cool.
You guys wait and wait, and about an hour later,
Oh my god.
if anyone would care to wait that long,
Soren is just gonna like lie down. Just
you see that Lithrandir immediately joins you, and like gets down on the ground at your level and is like relaxing with you. You can see actually by the end of the hour, there's 3 more elves also lying down next to you.
sunbathing at the
Yeah,
same time.
they're basically just all sunbathing,
Actually,
and they're all talking to each other and nodding, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a good day. It's a good day to be here."
Soren has fallen asleep.
Yeah,
Soren
Um,
is dead
standing
too
very
long.
straight, like
that the atmosphere of this camp could not be more different than the Loth. The fact that everyone is relaxed and happy to be here, and you can even see that there's no resentment or frustration from the Dragonborn in the camp, but you can tell that they're working around the elves as if they're very used to this. Like they're stepping over them rather than waiting for them to move. They're like building stuff and repairing stuff around them and leaving broken areas wherever they happen to be. And even over the course of an hour, you can see that almost all of the panes of glass seem to be being repaired immediately. Which, like, from a point of view of you would guess that these are paladins and their armor. They're not casting spells. They're working hard. They're physically carrying broken beams and moving stuff and repairing stuff and repainting and adding mortar where the bricks need it. And as you're watching, these paladins are working themselves to the bone, and none of them seem bothered in the slightest. It is a devotion that I think Stan is almost like I feel like the work ethic being displayed is something that Stan can relate to heavily. Like Dragonborn's just working hard to get shit done, and then elves lazing around is something that you've maybe experienced in a couple of your
Something like that.
yeah. And yeah, there is after about an hour of silence from this elf and like small mutterings, you can see that the well in front of her fills with water. Um, Make me an Arcana or Religion check. Anyone who would like to check this out.
I'm asleep.
You're asleep.
So
it's 13.
13. You have been around clerics for long enough to know that this was an unnecessary request. Like, she has prayed for an hour for what you recognise as a fairly low level spell. This is like you maybe not be familiar with the name of it, but there's a spell called Create Food and Water, that basically creates clean drinking water, and it has a casting time of 6 seconds, and this is something that she has spent an hour dealing with, and that's an hour that you've seen. You've no idea how long she's been sitting here, and she sort of looks up and smiles to everyone, and she greets Lithrandir in High Elvish. And again, it takes another like 2 minutes, and you can hear this conversation. All she says is, "How was your day?" And then he answers, and it takes maybe 5 minutes. And you guys are just standing there watching this conversation. And then she turns to you and bows low. Hello.
Immediately bounce back way too low.
Yes.
No
Face
clue what she's
on the
doing.
ground.
Face on the ground. You bow so fast you knock yourself out. Yeah, so she bows to you all and introduces herself as the servant. A tear, as you say bad vibes. A single tear.
I'm so.
She's patiently waiting for something to happen. She looks like to be a very reactive person.
It's very nice to meet you.
It's wonderful to meet you too. May the All-Father's light shine upon you.
Oh, yeah.
And then she looks a little concerned, and then she's like, or perhaps the shade. As she's like working out whether that was bad to say to someone who doesn't love direct sunlight. You see that she's more concerned about herself making the mistake.
They're both concerned.
Yeah.
Like,
Immediately she's like, oh no, I've ruined this interaction. I shouldn't have done that. And you can see her spiraling internally.
oh, either or.
No, let us.
Tears.
Bows again. We saw your poster on the way here, and we, do you need help?
We always require help. This is something that we are open to taking from anyone. Do you have any information about any... And then she sort of hesitates. Underdark activities. And you can see that she's not sure how to proceed.
You know,
You think this might be the first time she's ever met a drow?
first time you ever.
Yeah, probably.
And
In
we
all
got
honesty,
someone
probably
missing.
this is probably the first time you've met someone who is like you're familiar with Elvish lore, and obviously Lolth was part of the Seldarine. You know that the homeland of the elves is a place that has been long lost to time. It is a separate dimension. They're obviously from the Feywild. So any elves that are here, and you would guess the age of this person is probably an elf that was born in the Feywild. And the chances that she's been here that long is maybe you're not sure how long she's been here. But this is someone who was born in the Feywild and has no interaction with anything dark prior to receiving here, other than the Feywild's darkness, which is always the sort of like the Feywild has werewolves and it's right next to the Shadowfell and it's always that stuff, but they are fighting against that actively, if that makes sense. So when she's coming here and there's sort of nuances, you can tell that she's trying really hard to learn them.
Neil's just gonna kind of be like, looks at Stan, looks back at her. We possibly, but if I'm honest, I am not very well versed in how this works.
She reaches out and takes your hands in hers and goes, "We will learn together."
Okay.
Single tear from Lithuania.
These elves, oh my god. You know, it's just like straight up like.
Yeah, and you've been around wood elves your whole life, whose whole thing is like, let's go to nature, we'll explore, we'll build, and these guys could not be further away.
A wild experience.
It's very much a thing of trying to be stoic, like I am proper, but then her hands are like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need information.
We do.
Anything specific you're looking for?
We're not sure what's going on. There's been a lot of murder. There's been a lot of death. And Saloon, in her wisdom, has requested the help of the Father of Elves. And we're always happy to answer the call.
Were you called to do something specific or just to be here?
We were called to help Saloon, who is partnered with Bahamut. At the request of Bahamut, Saloon has contacted Corellian, and we are here to help. And you can see that at this point, a paladin sort of hears that you're talking to the elves and wanders over. And you can see that this is a bright gold dragonborn. This is like the shiniest person you've ever seen. And they are wearing armor made of platinum and filigreed with adamantine and black obsidian gems. And you can see that there is sort of their whole theme of their armor seems to be the platinum energy overcoming darkness. So the sort of like all-encompassing platinum light is like engulfing shadow on the armor. And you can see this gigantic double-headed axe on the back of their on their back in a big sheath. And the axe itself, one half is bright platinum and the other half is bright gold. And you can see that he has very clearly the platinum dragon sort of everywhere on his armor and little details. And he comes up and is like, "Can we help? This is a meeting that's happening. You're here for information, to give information, to receive information."
We saw your poster and we were just curious. We just wanted to see what was happening. We're new in the city and looking for work.
Yes, there has been a lot of cultish activity. We've been brought here to sort of sort that out. There has been a lot of death and murder. The local government seems to have disbanded the militia, and there seems to be not a lot going on and not a lot of concern over the various levels of death going on. There's also some quite disturbing news of a nearby city losing its leadership, so there is quite a lot of... Make me a deception check. There's quite a lot of work going on into finding them. We have slight concerns that the cult of possibly Loth is expanding, although there's whispers of other things. There's always rumours going on, but Veherun is quite prominent in this area, so we've heard. And now that you're hearing the Dragonborn say Veherun rather than whatever Stan said earlier, you are hearing the pronunciation correct. It clicks for the first time, and you realise that Veherun is Loth's son, who is the sort of the god deity of disenfranchised male drow. Because drow is a matriarchy, the idea that male drow could rise to power is almost ridiculous. But you could see the point of view of like a son that would take over a pantheon if the mother died, but is being ridiculed for being the wrong gender, being not really like... You can see that his worshippers would be trickery domain, shadow domain, not like out there telling everyone that that's what they were doing. But there has been chat of Loth or Varun. Do you have any information? I noticed that you're from the Underdark and you seem to be dragonborn in nature, so are you here to join up?
We're just here to get as much information as possible. I mean, as I said, we're new in the city and we've been concerned. We've heard about this cultish activity and...
What was your deception check?
Oh, 6.
6.
That's all incredibly concerning information.
New information?
I mean,
I've
have
heard
you
before.
heard of the murders?
Hmm.
Yeah, I have a friend in the city who told us that the murder rate had been increasing over the past couple of weeks.
Yes, that is true, yes. Over the past couple of weeks has been very disturbing. There has been a lot of local murder, and this city has never really been the best at keeping record of crime. We're having a lot of issues with the fact that the local government seems to have disbanded the militia over 50 years ago. And you can imagine that 50 years of no policing has left this place crumbling. We are trying to fill that gap as soon as possible. However, we are sparse, so we are always recruiting.
Oh no.
We might need some time before we make our decision. Get to know what
The
the
city.
pros and cons that
The pros and cons of murder.
No,
No.
pros and cons of...
Is there payment for time in service?
Your payment would usually be in the form of devotion. Devoting yourself to a deity is the best payment you can receive, especially given the spells and the ability to serve your god. Although I understand if you're not a convert, that might be a problem.
Well, we just?
You see that when he's talking about this, he is kind of mostly directing it at Stan. Bahamut is a draconic god. A lot of humans worship them as well. It's quite common for humans to be paladins of Bahamut, especially because most dragons don't really have souls. So the sort of humanoid races have made the dragon gods real. And there's a lot of rumours about how that happened and why. But you know that it's not uncommon for other races to be part of the Bahamut recruitment. It's just mostly draconic races.
I'm sure I might need some more time before I can truly make a decision.
Hmm.
But I will get back to you on.
You can see that the elf, the female, the servant, is just watching this with a bland expression and just like nodding.
Is there anywhere? Because we will be exploring the city for quite a while. Possibly taking up different jobs here and there. Is there anywhere that you would be interested in us dropping in information if we happen?
She takes your hand and is just like, "You are welcome here for as long as you may need." No, she's like holding.
Oh. Thank you.
You make a friend, Soren?
Single tear. You are correct. We will. I also feel a burdening friendship with this new group. I feel as if the All-Father designed this meeting himself.
See, that is.
She's still holding tight to your hand.
Yeah.
Will you pray with us this evening?
No,
We understand. And she lets go.
thank you. Well, this has been an enlightening conversation.
How rude, you feel like we never introduced ourselves. You've been talking to complete strangers this whole time.
They never introduced themselves either.
The Dragonborn is just blankly staring at this, like, they've not offered their name either.
Well, it is nice to meet you. My name is Stan. Remember that name, because I will become famous beyond belief.
Stan. Wonderful. It's fantastic to meet you.
My name's Needle, and she tells you.
He's just nodding. He takes out a small notebook and writes down your name and a brief description. Same with you. And then he looks at you expectantly.
I don't think.
He nods.
Like to be a good friend.
This is not very French.
And I thought people had bad vibes.
Not almost.
He starts writing more description about you.
Being very sketchy here.
I don't know these. I don't. What's your name, friend? As a dragonborn.
Is it necessary to know?
Well, I see you're writing some things down about us. I would like to know the name.
We're taking it upon ourselves to become the local militia. So we are taking it upon ourselves to bring peace to the city.
And why do you need to write down our information and names? We haven't done.
Well, it seems as if you guys are interested in taking an active approach to the city. Can we close the window?
Quite possible. What, you don't like
All the Dragonborn in the background are chanting, "Oh!" Creepily, people are getting closer and closer and chanting and chanting.
I just don't know how entirely comfortable I am with strangers writing down information. Maybe if I had a name or anything to go off of, I would feel a bit better.
No, these aren't the police. But then again, it is a symbol of trust for people to know people's names.
I am Commander Thimark.
Right. You both have notebooks.
He realizes that you have a notebook and he says THIMRAK. THIMRAK. You might want to write Gold Dragonborn.
Okay.
Because later on, the orange dragon.
Well, it may be a common name among my people. I don't hear Stan very often.
Yeah, so I was actually given quite a unique name. My uncle Tex actually gave it to me. He wanted me to be well known and distinguishable.
Another fairly unique name.
Come from a unique family.
I can tell.
He's a very unique individual.
I can tell.
Yeah. Most people can.
Oh well.
So, if our business is concluded here, I'm wondering if you have any real information to hand over, or if not, would you please leave us to our business?
Sure.
Bye. If you need anything, come find us.
We have a desperate need for all information.
If we find anything, we'll
We'll,
tell you.
we'll bring it to you if we hear it.
Would you like a companion if you're investigating?
What kind of
A paladin
No.
we can spare.
I'm afraid we don't have any more room where we live, so they would need
Yeah,
to.
they
live.
You're welcome to stay here.
We have
And the elves immediately are like, yes, you must stay. We're welcoming. We have spare rooms. And she gestures to the rundown, broken house.
That's okay. We have accommodation. As I said, I have a friend in the city. That's
Just
Yes. And that friend was called... I'm sorry, I feel like I missed the name.
That's because I didn't give it.
Yes.
So
Very well.
I am sorry about my friend. They're a bit protective.
Perhaps that is best in these times.
There is a fair bit of murder I can understand.
no,
I believe we're up to 45 bodies this week. Which is concerning.
Yeah, that's
It's concerning.
Have there been any?
2 families died last night.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which families were they connected?
He goes off and
45
45 bodies.
bodies, not deaths. Well, missing. Just 45.
They've found 45 bodies in the past week.
There's 207 missing.
Well, they've not said their missing figure, if there is one. Just bring my notes.
How many new people must keep coming to this island to keep up with 45 deaths a week?
Well, it has it's been exponentially increasing this week specifically.
That's true, but even so, that implies that there was cult murders and disappearances before, if it's increased.
That's very true.
There was the Sky Creek family and there was the Dawn Crag family. The Sky Creeks were a family of elves and the Dawn Crags were a family of dwarfs.
Is it okay to either insight or investigation on what's
Mhm.
the surroundings kind of thing?
In
They
what
have
way?
weird vibes.
So you'd like to insight the general vibe of this camp?
Yeah, and
Yep.
if there's anything.
That would be insight.
Okay.
2. You feel deeply uncomfortable here. This is like there's a small part of you that understands that this is definitely because of your upbringing. That you're like, and the way that someone who was brought up Mormon is hearing about, oh, these people drink alcohol. You're sort of having that gut reaction of there's something wrong with these people. They're too close to the light. But you're not sure. Needle's interpretation of that is kind of up for grabs. If you feel like that would make you uncomfortable properly, or if you feel like you would understand that that is maybe something that Lolth would have preferred you to feel. It's up to you what you take from that.
True.
So these families, they were found, they were murdered last night, you say?
Hmm.
Um,
Yes, both of them were found slaughtered.
was it? This is a very odd question, I understand, but were they particularly bloody murders? Like, does it look violent?
So, from what we can tell, we have our own investigative force working on things at the moment. There are agents in the city that are investigating the cause of death. From what we can tell, there is no signs of physical blunt force violence. However, one family member in the Dawn Crags, their throat was slit. The rest seem to have been poisoned.
Or do you like local families?
Not necessarily. These were middle class. They were working, but they had magic.
Were they found in separate areas, or were they found together?
Both families were found inside their houses, but not gathered together in a single room. They were spread out.
Do they live near one another?
Not particularly.
The member of the Dawn Crags who had their throat slit.
Mm.
Which family member?
The patriarch. And he sort of checks his notebook. Simon.
Sorry.
Everyone has a name, unfortunately.
I was unexpected. Sorry.
Sometimes there are just names.
Simon. Okay. It's okay, we're gonna take Simon back. So Simon Donkrag was the only one to have physical injury
Of those families, yes.
of those families.
There have been other instances sporadically of murder. 4 of the bodies were found murdered, and the rest were poisoned.
Okay. They wouldn't have happened to be families of faith, would they?
He looks at his notes. Both families had a strong arcane background. It's possible that they might have been worshipping some sort of arcane god, but none of them were actively serving in any type of clergy that we can detect. Is there a personal connection to these events? There seems to be. For the first time, he considers his words carefully. From your ethnicity, we can determine that there's a high probability that your home nation may be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that you have been running from? It is uncommon to see drow in the daylight.
Yes.
Is the only reason I'm asking.
It's something I've been noticing where different places we go just randomly. It's there's clearly an influence, but I don't know enough about it.
An influence of drow.
Of Lob's teachings.
Frantic scribbling.
Subtle information giving.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah, it just seems like it.
And how recently did you arrive in this city?
Like yesterday.
And have there been any instances of love connectivity?
I'm not sure yet. I've just been trying to get caught.
Deception check.
Half line.
That's not a half lie.
That's a lie.
You met them.
We left in there.
You're not sure what they're up to, but you know there's activity.
At least those guys are good friends.
17.
17. Check. What's up? I hope so. Interesting. If any members of the Cult of Lolth try to contact you in any way, we are trying to get an open line of communication with any of their members.
For what purpose? If I can ask.
Infiltration. We would. What was that?
I was like, no, it's fine. I was out of character, it's not important.
Okay. Infiltration, mostly. We need information desperately. We are. Our biggest fear is that the repetitions of last century may reappear, and Bahamut, and he sort of holds his holy symbol tight. Luckily, we were here to push back the last time. Us and Salian were a strong presence in the deterrent. We hope to be again.
Is there specific information you need?
Locations.
Yeah, because I grew up in that kind of environment, so I have what I know, but I don't know how useful it would be, since it's very much just a cultural knowledge.
We understand that there is issues in that Lolth is the creator of the Drow. We understand that not everyone in that society may necessarily believe in all of her teachings. However, a society built around that goddess is still a society that is dangerous.
I would agree.
We are hoping to fix, and at this point he looks a little bit at the elves. We are hoping to fix problems that were created in the past. There are pantheons that did not deal with their own problems. And at this point, the elves, for the first time, not necessarily bristle, but you can see that they darken a little.
Called out.
I don't know if anybody is aware, but Corellion the Lightbringer was married to Lolth for a long time. And their separation caused much anxiety among the people. Not in the Draconic Pantheon.
So, is there particular information you would need?
Locations.
Location. Of what?
Outposts. Anywhere that this influence is spreading needs to be eradicated. Or at least routed.
Well, if I'm honest, I feel that in my experience, outposts tend to be very obviously spider themed. So I suppose if you're just keeping a lookout for any strange statues, or
Make me You're not lying. So what I will say is make me a straight charisma check to see whether you can. It's not necessarily that you're hiding the truth, but like whether you're putting off the vibe that you're hiding something, or whether you're putting off the vibe that you can be helpful without betraying anyone.
15.
What vibe would you like him to take from this?
Kind of giving general knowledge vibe.
Right.
Of what you'd expect from growing up in that environment of what things tend to look like.
From your perspective, the first outpost you've ever seen on the surface that gave off that solid a vibe was the one that's in this city. It's like, because the other ones would be, if you think of like the Brightwood family, they are an outpost for the Cult of Lolth, but under no circumstances would anyone associate them with that because they're neither drow, they're not religious, they're sort of hiding as arcanists and businessmen. So you would like, it's up to you whether you would like to still say that and mean the thing that you're meaning, or like because what I'm saying is it's very atypical for them to not be hiding,
Yeah.
because they are a very secret society.
Yeah. They would just be like, hee hee, giggles.
Cool. Interesting. I'll keep an eye out for mostly spider motifs. Of course, we are aware that she is the goddess of spiders and arachnids. And we're also aware that she's the creator and the progenitor of Dryder as well as Drow. So we are on the lookout for any signs of that. There is Drow in the city. This is not necessarily unique in the Sky Cities, but it is more prevalent here than in most places. We are aware that the lack of questions in this area is causing some issues. The idea of local government having nothing to do with its citizens is troubling to us in general.
I have a question for you. You're essentially reinstating the militia.
We are becoming.
You're becoming a militia. What are your plans to do with people like the Drow who may not be involved in anything?
Peaceful citizens will be allowed to continue living here. Anyone practicing arcane magic that should be forbidden will be asked politely to stop. We understand that there will be a transition period in the city. There is a lot of things relying on undead, which we are adverse to. However, we understand that this is something that is a cultural difference in this location. We are not looking to eradicate that. However, anyone practicing murderous intentions, anyone raising armies that shouldn't be doing so, anyone creating poisons they shouldn't be having access to, needs to be monitored, needs to be stopped. And anyone responsible for these murders will be held to trial. And in the Platinum Dragon's mercy, may die.
When you say may, what percentage is that?
Anyone guilty will die.
Was it is pretty?
However, anyone suspected will be held trial. Trial being fair, they will die.
Just from what I know, what about people who are in contracts with law?
You mean of the physical nature, as in working for assassins, or do you mean warlocks? Anyone who is in any kind of power giving agreement will be considered guilty.
Even if they don't commit crime?
Signing with such an entity that is requiring malice, requiring domination, requiring murder as part of their general doctrine, encouraging spying, killing, assassination of their own people. An entity such as this will not make a deal that is benevolent and beneficial to the people around them. Even devils are lawful in nature and can be asked to give fair pacts. Evil gods require evil deeds.
In that vein of thinking, what about, I mean, we spoke about people who are specific dispositions but haven't done anything. What about creatures of that nature? Are
Creatures of an
exposed to-
evil nature.
Yes.
I think creatures of an evil nature are unlikely to spring up inside cities. Anything causing mass carnage the general population will defend itself. Anything that's causing carnage will be killed if it's necessary, or trapped if it's an animal.
Cool. I'm just curious.
He looks more confused at the question. Like, you're almost asking, like, if a lion was in the city, would you kill it? And he's like, if I needed to, I suppose. Like, he's not hunting anything like that. He's hunting evil gods and the people that are actively murdering people. If this, by some chance, turns out to be a creature, it will be dealt with accordingly. I can't think of any creature that would be responsible for 40 deaths in a week without being seen. This speaks to human intelligence.
I wasn't implying. I'm just curious.
Or humanoid intelligence, I should say.
I was just curious about the way the militia would be running.
If we were on the surface and there was creatures invading, it would be a more reasonable concern. However, the likelihood of a wild animal taking a skyship to this location is slim. And anything flying would be dealt with by the mage agreements that deal with the city's protection. For instance, dragons and wyverns, things like that. Anything that was coming to threaten the city on that larger scale would, of course, have to be dealt with.
It's a bit of a culture. I'm from the surface originally, so
We understand.
That's more of a concern in my brain than I guess would be normal cities. This has been a very enlightening conversation. I'm mildly interested in local government. Thank you for indulging me.
We are always available.
I'm sure we will run into you again. We'll bring you information.
He does shake.
My name is Soren.
He does write your name down.
So it's an enlightening experience. Bye. Turn around.
Have a wonderful day.
Before I go, I'm going to try and go. By the way, ignoring the elves, good things.
He doesn't give any outward display of like dislike to the elves, but you can see that like even as he steps around to leave, rather than going around some of the elves that were laying down, he does step over them to get to his next location.
Stop.
No, he is polite. He is polite to them, but he's definitely not waiting for them to get out of the way.
Nido just does a slightly more hesitant bow and then follows Soren very quickly.
The elves are just sort of benignly watching this situation.
As soon as I'm like 100% sure that we are fully out of earshot of all of them.
Make me an intelligence check.
Dear, no.
If you would prefer, you can do a separate one for perception.
Over 20.
Okay. Yeah, you don't seem to like be followed or anything, so you kind of just walk a couple blocks away, and then you're like, you're safe.
Okay, I'm gonna lean much closer to Needle. All of our stuff and the child are still in the big spider-themed building you just told them to look out for. We should probably go get that.
I'm assuming that most of your adventuring gear is carried with you, most places. As a note, like I understand, but just as a note, I'm gonna say most of the things written down in your inventory, unless you pick up like a carriage or a boat, you can assume that everything in your inventory is on your person most of the time, unless you specify otherwise.
Okay.
The only other time that I would say that that's not a rule is if you're taking a long rest, you're not sleeping in your armor, you've not got all your shit on you.
Okay, cool.
Nido's just gonna lean over and like whisper and be like, "We're staying with your friend's house, remember?" And then she's just gonna smile.
Yeah, but you didn't get Brocken.
Yeah, we need to go get
We need to get the child.
before night then.
Alright.
She's still doing chores, as far as you know.
Yeah.
Gotta go get the thing.
I'm gonna start just making my way back to the cult. Because I'm not panicked about the fact that
Alone, or is everyone
I
coming?
am also panicking, but for different reasons, so I can go back to the cult.
I'll go with it.
Do you see anything interesting on the way? I mean, we're Russian. but-
Not really. You're kind of going through the city. You can see the usual amount of undead, and yet now that it's been pointed out in an official way, you don't see anyone keeping any kind of general order. Like you're not seeing crimes being committed, but like yeah, there's no sign of anything that keeps any kind of control over stuff. The only sign of authority you've seen in this entire location, besides the paladins that you've just got in touch with and the leader of Oscar's group, is the dock worker that spoke to you the first time you came here. And that's it. That's the only authority you've come across. Even in the town hall, you didn't see any sign of like a receptionist or like a help desk or anything like that. There's no sign of local government anywhere.
Do we know, just for curiosity's sake, because we know about the council,
Mhm.
do we know which one is with which city?
Make me an intelligence check. Anyone who would like to.
Five. 6.
9. That's smartest again.
We're all sheltered.
So, you do know that there used to be a council member called Gortek,
Yeah.
and they used to be associated with the smokestacks. What did everybody get again? Sorry,
Nice.
6, 9,
5.
5. On a 9, the only one you can think of, Vinny, is the leader of the Council of 9 at the moment, the sort of highest elected member, is the Archmage of the Titan's Rock. And the Titan's Rock is the oldest flying city. It's also the most militaristic of the flying cities. A lot of the time, if war is declared somewhere on the planet, this city will beeline to it to end the war. It's one of those. They're not like a militia. They are an invading force. And if something goes wrong on the planet, they're the ones that step forward. Like if there's an apocalyptic event, they're the ones that step forward and are like, "We'll fix it. Go on with your day." And you would know that the leader of that city and the one that keeps it afloat is called Arvel, and you would sometimes know him as Arvel the Bright. And as he says that name, anyone can make me a history check to see if they recognize the name Arvel the Bright.
Another intelligence. Nat 20.
Nat 20.
Nat 20.
You know that Arvel the Bright is the title that he prefers. But there are sometimes people who have called him Arvel of the Early Dawn. You would know that there's old stories of an old conflict that was going on the surface of two continents invading one another. This was a conflict that was very rapidly getting out of control and was going to end in World War, back when there was only 6 flying cities. So this was a long time ago. And Arvel was some sort of general in the army. He wasn't quite risen to power yet. And you can't remember the specifics, but you remember that the one of the nations was sort of Titan's Rock was nearby and showed up there where the capital of the nation was being sieged, and the nation's capital was a big city with big walls, and when Arvel showed up, the city started to wake up because dawn was coming at around 3 in the morning, because the fires around them were so bright they thought daylight had shown up early, because Arvel had single-handedly eliminated the nation's forces. It was one of those combats that was not like he led an army. He walked through an army and killed them all, one by one, and then showed up at the gates of the neighbouring city, demanded payment, and left.
And
he's still in charge.
What race is he?
High elf.
Cool.
But he does not seem to be the chill type of religious high elf. he is an arcanist, and he has devoted his life to power. You would recognize that he's not known as an evil leader. He's just not someone that will take kindly to things being done that he does not wish to be done.
Quick note, as a group,
Mhm.
if we get hired to kill that guy, we run.
I,
That's not
there's
happening.
one way
I
we
wrote
can
it
kill him.
If you say Tex, no.
There's two ways we can kill him.
Wait, what's your one way to kill him?
Hold one of the flying cities hostage with the wizard and crash it into his.
I mean, to be fair, I think it. Actually, we're having this conversation while running. See?
So yeah, like as Stan is going through this story, you guys like it's not necessarily like common knowledge, but both you guys recognize the sound of the early dawn. Some of the elves call him Arvel the Phoenix. He is an might be obvious, but he's an evocation specialist. He is the type of wizard that has devoted himself to causing the most elemental control that he can get his hands on. And you would recognize that he is like not the one who raised Titan's Rock, but is an undisputed ruler of Titan's Rock. And again, not evil, but not to be fucked with.
Good to know all the people in the world we shouldn't be fucking
Yeah.
with.
And the way that like he's like American military and the rest of the world is sort of like a small country or a town, and he's like, no, we would invade, and when we did, you'd be one of us.
Yeah.
It's that like
Cool.
it's not we take all your stuff. It's you're now one of us.
Good to know. There's probably nothing about who's manning this one.
No, no one really knows. None of the party. On a 9, no one can name all the council members. Just like if I was to say who's the leader of anyone in the UN. See? Not common knowledge, is it? Jeffrey Bezos, leader of the United Nations.
Jeff Bezos, the early dawn, the Phoenix.
Changing the name. Bezos, the early dawn.
That's what Amazon delivery.
Yeah.
You have to show when they
Yeah.
deliver your parcel.
Actually, on a 9, probably the only other one you would know is that there are 8 flying cities, and it is the Council of 9. Whenever the council is convening, wherever Titan's Rock happens to be, the local government official, whoever is like on the surface, becomes the 9th member of the council. There is no one representative for the planet's surface. It's just wherever Titan's Rock happens to be during an emergency, sort of becomes the spokesperson of the surface.
Do the council meetings happen on Titan's Rock? Or do they
Usually.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
I have another question.
You would also know that the council doesn't meet regularly. As if something's going wrong.
Okay.
You suspect there might be some meeting soon. There might be a meeting soon, especially if one of them's missing. But then again, they don't meet regularly, and they might not know he's missing for a while, or they might not really think it's an issue for a while. You're not sure. You're not sure.
How far is it from where we were? I have the map.
It's not that far. It's at the other end of the city. Well, in the way that like, if you were to walk from one end of our city to the other end, it'd take like an hour and a half. Like, but in terms of D&D, It's not like you're going. Yeah, you're
Walking through a
taking 4 days to walk from this city to that city. Yeah, you can walk there in like an hour and a half. This city doesn't really have any like carriages or cars like the other one did. You can see that the streets are a lot tighter packed. Yeah, takes you about an hour and a half. You get there, no issues. Yeah, you show up as usual. You're allowed in immediately because you're staying here, as far as they know.
Just grab attention of anyone nearby.
You see that there's just like an acolyte, a shaved head acolyte that looks like a young male.
Hello there. We stayed here
Mhm.
last night, and
Yes.
our young
Your
friend-
your young friend is still here.
Yes.
Yes.
We need to leave.
Okay.
We've found other accommodation, so we're going to
Yeah,
go
wonderful.
get
Yeah.
ourselves settled there.
And you would like her to join you then, or like?
We could be taken.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think. He sort of looks around. I think they were on kitchen duty last I seen, but I don't know if they're still there.
Ah, yes, I remember the earrings.
We all do.
There.
Mm.
Well, we'll head that way to find them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Out of curiosity, where are you staying now?
With an old friend.
Perfect.
I
You find that he's now been delegated to washing dishes.
Oh, amazing.
No
Smash.
longer cooking.
Such a shame.
They are sweeping and doing dishes, and they are drenched.
Oh, no. It's a wet cat.
Yeah, they're not happy.
Oh.
Come
Good
to
news.
rescue.
We've come to rescue you. We're leaving.
Yeah, just grabs hammer and follows you to. I guess you are going to Oscars for.
Yes.
Before we leave, I'm doing a fair turn thing. You go on, there's something I need to get. And I'm gonna just walk away looking for Father.
Antioch or Maynarch?
Papa.
Any of them.
Okay, which one?
Actually,
This is whether or not Stan has any notes to
I
remember
was gonna say,
who's doing
any
what.
of them would work. I'll go to Antioch.
Cool. Do you guys let him wander off?
I'm gonna follow. I'm also going to follow.
I was gonna say, I don't want this to be a part of the conversation, so I need you to make stealth check.
I also
Well,
want to
no.
find
Well,
They are
no.
not making stealth checks. You say you go ahead and they both follow you. They're not hiding. They just follow.
Oh yeah, fair enough. No, you guys go ahead. I really need this to be a private moment. I'm not sure how you react about what I'm about to do. It's a little secret. So you,
Well, you're here in my charge, so I have to make sure you're leaving.
no,
Yeah. I'm coming with you. And she's just gonna walk in the direction that he was.
find this. I'll bow and sneak.
So in the middle of the Lol Church, your plan is to. Needle says, "I'm supposed to be responsible for you," loudly, and then you bolt and hide.
Yeah.
Okay. Make me an athletics check to see how fast you can bolt away, and then make me a stealth check. If the athletics low, I'm gonna let someone grab you.
Fastly is 5. Or athletics is 5.
So you go to bolt, and Soren's hand smacks out and grabs the back of your cloak.
No,
Hmm.
no. You can go.
You can dash away leaving the cloak if you prefer.
Bottle.
I was
Yeah, they're
going
grabbing
to
you,
let
though.
You go.
No.
They're like, you
Oh,
now
I'm
see a
not-
smoke cloud.
That.
Yeah, they've grabbed your jacket.
Now I'm going to dash. I'm going to go.
So Soren, you feel the cloak go limp. What's your stealth check?
Oh yes. Tell.
Because if you fail this, you're going to be running around naked in the middle of this church.
Naked. I have clothes.
Do you?
21.
21. Anyone's care to perception above that? Everyone make perception checks with disadvantage because of the smoke cloud. Actually, you would have advantage.
Oh yeah.
You do it twice.
That
Twice.
20's for a 30.
So if anyone can beat 30 on a perception check or a nat 20, and then we would re-roll
At disadvantage.
at disadvantage. So you would need to roll two nat 20s.
Disadvantage is 7.
7. No. So, like, you grab their cloak, they pull the bottle, and then you feel the cloak go limp. And you're left holding this cloak.
I was going to let him go. Why is every interaction with you people like this?
I need to
Like
talk-
40 drow go, you people.
Yeah, your people.
No.
It's
I
fine.
mean- I
No, no.
mean him.
It's just a cliche joke.
I know, but
The
I
only
get
dark-skinned race in D&D.
Enough, but I get enough of this.
I know. Yeah.
I'm doing that on camera. I can't just go back.
I get accused of racism enough later. Yeah,
I'm not racist.
Possibly. All of my friends would actually.
it's fine.
This is gonna come back to haunt me in 3
It's
years'
not.
time. I'm
It's
gonna
not.
get canned on
You're
Twitter.
absolutely fine. Yes, so we are in the middle of this church. You're holding the cloak. Is there anything you two would like to do now that he's gone missing?
I need to look for Antioch anyway.
Okay,
Because I need to talk to him.
so you're making your stealth check is successful. So what would you like to do?
I'm gonna go around the corner. I have some form of basic clothes on,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna keep the bottle open until I find a room, or the room where I was originally talking to him. I'm gonna go in.
So I will clarify that the first time you spoke to Antioch was at the door, and then you walked through the corridor and you sat in like a little seating room where they had tea. Cool. So you would like to go to the tea room?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna. I can't see.
No.
I can barely see. I go, Antioch, you there?
No response.
This is Stan, by the way. I know you can't hear me. I know you're someone.
A drow voice speaks up and goes, who are you looking for? What's going on here?
I'm looking for Father Antioch. I am sentient cloud and I have come to get him news.
Father Antioch will probably be in his chambers or perhaps the prayer rooms. I'm not sure what's going on.
That's alright.
You hear like a slight concern to like this drow, like a cloud of darkness traveling through the Church of Lolth is not something that's causing alarm with these people,
Yeah.
but it's like they're not used to talking to clouds.
Okay, you're just a boat. You're a really big boat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk through and just go, it's alright, I am on the side of wall that you can see with my cloud of darkness. But,
They've told you that he's not in this room.
perfect, can you possibly lead me to those locations?
You can't see them.
Take my hand, child. Lead me to the locations of which you speak.
You hear like fumbling around in the dark. Like they can't seem to find a hand.
It's alright, I'm also.
This is a 60-foot wide cloud. You're in a room going, take my hand, and you can't see where the other person is.
The door. I'm at the door. You know where the door was.
They're like fumbling. You can hear like furniture being knocked over.
Oh my god.
They're trying.
Oh my god.
Eventually, someone like smacks directly into you.
Ouch.
Yeah, and then yeah,
Perfect.
they grab your hand.
Perfect. And I'm gonna open this door and we're gonna follow with your arm leading me along the
As you
corridor.
open the door, it smacks into them as well. And they're,
Watch your face, I forget you non-clouds can't know where things are. Anyway, put your arm against the wall and follow the direction of either the praying room or Antioch's chamber.
he leads you to Antioch's chamber. Around this time, what would you like to be doing, Needle?
Asking around to find Antioch, I guess.
You go into the kitchen and you can see that Brother Maynard, or Father Maynard to you guys, is still doing kitchen duty. You see that he's took over the cooking rather than having him do the dishes and Brochan do the cooking. They have reversed that role for less hairy eggs. Yeah, and they're just like, yeah, they're probably in their room at the moment. I know they've been up pretty much all night doing some work. So yeah, they're probably in their chambers if you wanted to head up just up the corridor, first door on your right. and you head up there and you find a cloud of darkness stumbling around.
Neo's
Because
sorry.
again, this is not you are hidden within the cloud. Absolutely no one can see you, but it's a big cloud.
That's alright. So I made it to the room essentially.
You're at the door and the acolyte knocks, and then you hear behind you people coming up the stairs, and you guys can see that there's a big cloud of dark fog, and you hear someone knocking on a door.
Perfect.
I stand.
As someone sort of as they knock on the door, you hear a voice inside, just sort of groggily, as if they've just kind of been woken up. Enter, and the acolyte goes, just as as there, it's hard to explain what I need, and he opens the door, and your cloud flows in.
Staying a cloud.
Yeah.
Now, I want to clarify, he's not a cloud.
I am a
He's
cloud.
just in a cloud, and he's telling people he's a cloud.
I'm surprised it wasn't what made me make a decision about that.
And that's like the acolyte is kind of just like whether this is or isn't. The easiest way for me to deal with this is to take them to the person who's in charge anyway. So it's like you show up to a police precinct and your plan is to go to jail, and you're actively committing a crime by going up to them, breaking in and going, I require a jail cell. Do you know what I mean? So they're just kind of very happily like, agreed. You should go
Yes,
meet
you
these
should.
people. You should do that. And then it's not my job anymore. Yeah, so the cloud flows in, and Antioch is like, hello,
Hello, can I speak to you inside and close the door quickly, please?
you may.
Thank you. You recognise my voice. I'm just gonna say the guy hold my hand, go, guard the door, don't let anyone in. I'm gonna go
You
in.
guys hear Stan say, can I chat to you inside? Guard the door, don't let anyone in. And then the door starts to close.
I'm gonna send Bowen. Like
Sure.
I'm saying Obi-Wan.
As you sort of send Bo in, does Bo have, what sights does Bo have?
Got lots of things.
Oh, this could be bad.
Can you give me the description of the bottle? What is the wording? Creates what? Does it say creates magical darkness, or does it say creates heavily obscured?
I will double check.
Because Bo might be able to immediately see through all this, and then the
Magical
whole
darkness
thing.
doesn't impede the
Yeah,
vision.
so just in case, because Devil's Sight is a real bitch for a lot of things, but it doesn't see through heavily obscured, if that's the condition that it gives you. So you might.
Heavily obscured.
Fuck.
So even Bo, with his incredibly magical eyes, can't see through the darkness
That's so upsetting.
to see big naked Stan running around this temple.
Well, or 3 kobolds. with
Or-
a trench coat.
Or
3 kobolds.
3 kobolds. That is true.
I don't know if we've said that.
On camera
camera,
yet. No.
yeah.
But that is the suspicion.
That's
Very
the running
real.
theory.
Stan, it's 3 kobolds.
Gets realer and realer every day. I'm just gonna look for Obi's eyes and try and like.
Yeah, it's the exact same. But the acolyte sees that there is people approaching and does not guard the door. So if you guys would like to just go in, like
No.
they're not a soldier.
Barricade the door.
They're not a soldier, so you basically went up to like the janitor and been like, "Hey, stand guard," and they've been like, "No."
I think Nita would wait just to see if she can overhear things because that's just her nature.
So you send Bo in.
Is the acolyte still hanging around, or did he...
They're not. They're fumbling through the darkness.
Oh, is it still dark out here?
Yeah, it's a fog cloud.
It's just smoke.
Yeah, it lasts for 10 minutes.
Should be, yeah. That's what it says.
Yeah. Or until a heavy breeze.
So I'm just gonna like slide down the wall. Sit.
It smells fine.
I want to inspect the cloak. I want to see everything about
Make
it.
me an investigation check with extreme disadvantage. So that's you're gonna be heavily obscured. Heavily obscured adds 15, I believe, to the DC because it.
Damn.
Yeah, because it's like a quarter would be +5, And this is 3/4 cover. 2. So you realise that it's fabric, but you can't see anything.
Okay.
You realise it would be far easier to deal with this if you weren't in a big fog cloud. So you could leave the fog cloud and then you would have a much easier time investigating.
Are you prepared to not do what I have to say?
Soren's so over it, does not give a fuck.
Is the fog cloud the whole corridor? Or
It's not far. You sort of it takes you less than 30 seconds to stumble your way out of it.
I just want to see if there's pockets in this thing and if there's things in those pockets. I just realised I still
you
have a
still have
pocket
frog
full of frog
hearts?
hearts.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do.
You can put those back in my
I'm
pocket.
gonna put them back in the first time.
Yeah. So you sort of reach into your pocket, pull out the horrible squelching frog hearts, and shove it in Stan's pocket. And as soon as you put it in the pocket, it vanishes.
Vanishes.
Gone.
It's wizard time!
Can I reach into the pocket? Is
Mhm.
it just fabric?
Mhm. Do you reach in expecting to find frog hearts?
Yeah.
You pull back out frog hearts. So you reach into an empty pocket, scoop like nothing, and then as soon as your hand exits where air would be, frog hearts now are.
Cool. I do the same with the gold.
How much gold you carrying?
Let's see, I am carrying 1,315
You pull out a huge fistful of just like massive heavy gold pieces. You can take as much of that 1,300 as you would like.
Just know, Stan will cry and burn buildings to the ground.
I'm not gonna be an asshole. I'll take like 50. And then
Remove 50 gold from your inventory, Stan.
I'll put it back. I'm just gonna start thinking of random things and seeing if I can pull them out.
Cool. Give me a list of random things you'd like to think of.
I don't know, like gems.
No.
I do have
You have 50 feet of rope. Yeah, you.
Yeah, you put
It's
50
bizarre.
gold.
You pull it out and it's like
Yeah,
you just keep
okay.
pulling this until you end up, because they've not stored it wrapped up.
Mhm.
They've clearly just like shoved loads of rope in. So you keep pulling out rope until you get to about 50 feet worth.
I'm much more fascinated. Like I'm not looking for anything of value or anything. I'm just having fun seeing what I can pull out. It's like you know, like Mary Poppins handbag.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like having fun pulling
Yeah.
things out, like potions.
What kind of potions are you thinking of? Or do you just think generic
Just
potions?
generic.
What potions you got on you?
None.
None.
You pull out 4 potions of healing.
Where did I get those from?
So it just works with anything?
You don't know.
That's so fucking cool. I pocket those.
Sure.
Oh, I'm too excited by this out of character to think of things. That's what I'm just gonna spend my time doing. I'm just thinking of random things.
Cool. If you write me a list, I'll tell you if you pull anything out.
Eventually.
Write me a list of what you're thinking about. Text it to me, and I'll tell you which ones.
People
Okay.
are
If
watching
anything.
down the street, reach into Stan's pocket, pull out a chicken and go, ta-da!
I'm gonna try to pull out a lizard.
Nothing.
Fuck.
Empty. Empty air.
Pull out chicken.
Empty air.
Okay. Doesn't work with living things. Cool.
Well, you know it doesn't work with a lizard or a chicken.
There might just not be a lizard or a chicken on the spawn list.
Dragon scales.
Nothing.
I'm having fun with this, but I'll stop so we can get to the actual conversation.
So,
Sorry.
what would you like? Father Antioch is happy to receive this cloud that sounds like Stan. I will point out, if you're planning on handing over the items that you promised them earlier, or did you give them the scimitar?
I gave them the phone.
Yeah, they've got it, and then they were asking for more gold, and you said, "Can you take this as a down payment?" I understand. I couldn't remember if you'd given them it or not. Cool. What would you like to see?
That sounds cool. Listen, as you probably guessed by my spectacular voice, it is me.
Mhm.
I'm gonna look. Do you have anything to barricade the door with? I know it's difficult to see, but you know where things are. It's gonna reach over things to barricade the door.
You see a bright flash of light. The door's locked.
Okay. Alright, now, it's gonna walk around the room and just now, we need to go over to this corner so they can't hear through the keyhole. That does a keyhole, doesn't it?
No one can hear.
Okie dokie. So, listen, we may or may not have run into some paladins, and this place has an immaculate vibe. I don't want that getting ruined.
Mhm.
They are on the search for people in pain, people getting murdered, potions and poisons being made. And I heard that we were going to look for buildings with spider thieves. So you might need to hide, not hide that, but hide anything illegal on the inside. Also, they are planning on holding trial for anyone who worships or is made it back with love.
This is incredibly troubling news.
Indeed it is.
Is this part of your investigation with Brother Maynard?
No. We just had a run-in.
How did this come to be?
Well, we saw some goofy elf nerd putting a poster up on the thing, and we just decided to follow him.
High elf?
Probably he was an elf of some sort.
Pale, long hair.
Yeah. Like a children's drawing, actually.
Poncy?
Absolutely.
Yes. Did they happen to mention, you mentioned paladins, did they mention a pantheon?
They were talking about Saloon being there, Batman being there.
Terrible.
The
terrible.
fairy.
The big fairy.
The big fairy. He'll be there.
The Lightbringer himself has come to the city.
Apparently.
This is troubling. I noticed that your companion Needle isn't here. They're left outside.
Indeed they are.
Why?
They stole my clothes.
That doesn't explain that to me.
I'm in a bit of a mood right now. They stole my clothes, so I locked them out of this room so I could give you the news.
Again, that doesn't clarify things for me, other than perhaps making you seem less trustworthy.
Damn. Say what you want, but I'm a clown.
You did also tell me your name.
Indeed I did.
No.
I'm Stan the Clown. What? No any other Stans?
You don't.
Aside
You
from
do
me,
not
I've
need to
had
make a
my-
deception check.
aside
They
from
know
me,
who
I've
you
had
are.
my clothes stolen.
Make a deception check with disadvantage then,
I was gonna say,
because there's an almost 0% chance.
please.
If you hit 2 nat 20s, I'll give you this.
Oh my god.
That's a 9.
Yeah, no. You speak with the same voice.
And the same in mind.
And he's also a cleric, so it's a wisdom class. So perception, insight, all that's his whole deal.
Listen, trust me or don't, that's fine. But I'd rather not be in a cloud, because I'm pretty much naked without my clothes.
It is odd. I have heard rumours of the Paladins of Bahamut being here. The Lightbringer is a terrible, terrible person to be in this city. Needle, you may join us. And you don't, again, you don't hear anything from outside, but you hear because you're from Bo.
Dido just comes out of the thing and then goes and knocks.
The door opens.
What the?
Well, Cloud Stan. There are many things that hide in clouds. None perhaps more prevalent than familiars. Is any of this true? And he's speaking directly to Needle.
Nido just goes, Obi, and then kind of gestures for Obi to become visible.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see him. So.
You still can't see him.
Visible what?
No one can see him still, but
Small cat.
Antioch seems to be able to detect something.
Little black shadowy cat boy.
Is any of this true?
Yes.
So our enemies are rallying at the gate. we must eradicate them. You can't see your expressions as far as you know, so
I actually wanted to speak to you about that, which is why I followed.
Mm.
Walking around after leaving this morning,
Mhm.
I heard a lot about murders,
Mhm.
perhaps happening. That wouldn't have anything to do with us, would it?
some of them.
Is there a particular reason?
We are, and he hesitates. I'm wondering how far we've gotten with the investigation on Maynark.
Yes. I have spoken to him,
Mhm.
and he doesn't. He seems to be very set into our cause. But I don't know how much of that is true. As you know, he could have easily lied to me, but it does seem like he genuinely does still believe in the Great Mother. So I don't know.
I find it troubling. I find it troubling that there are people attacking the city nearby. That there are people that are changing the belief system of this city. Invaders of light coming to the darkness is a problem.
It was quite unsettling.
I wonder if Maynark is involved. Is there, and he sort of, you get the impression he's addressing the cloud. Is there any way to tail Maynark, perhaps in not necessarily a gaseous form, but stealthily enough that this would be undetected? I know he finishes his duties soon. He will be free to roam all evening.
Yes, I believe there is. I am fairly sneaky, as you've seen by my cloud disguise, but even without it, I hear you. I'm crazy.
In character giggle.
You couldn't find me.
Even outside, Soren has no idea what's being discussed, and he still laughs. Like, there's a sense that Stan's talking bullshit.
I'm sneaky.
Yeah, but it's still funny.
No.
So, what needs to be done?
So far, from what I've got of the just is, those people bad online follow him who is in kitchen.
Agreed.
No cooking.
Agreed.
Don't get caught. No clouds time.
Yes. I agree. I think this is a wise course of action.
Miro's nods.
I get my clothes back.
Very well.
Sorry, hard to see in the blood.
Yeah, you do. You would guess that it was Soren. You know that Needle is talented in many ways, but brute strength is maybe not one of them.
Because I think I've grabbed you by the back of the throat.
Enough. Yeah, you've grappled with Soren enough. I recognise those annoyingly difficult to escape hands.
I think the majority of our interactions are physical altercations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as Oscar suspects.
I was gonna say I am going to have another story to tell for you to Oscar. Either the time where we had to dress up as cab driver, wait for stuff, and the time that you physically disrobed me in front of a room of people.
It's horrible because
you're watching it yourself.
My character gets so easily flustered that now my character also has to get
There's
no way to act around it because I just can't handle it. This is terrible.
Very well. I agree that this is the wise course of action, and I think that it is heartening to hear that there are outsiders willing to help the community.
I also had a question I was going to ask about anything.
Mhm.
So when I was gathering information here, um, they were talking about becoming the new kind of sort of policing force here. And I was wondering if you knew what happened to the original one, or if there was an original one.
There was an original one. The Dragon Spark community had a militia that was associated with it. The dragons spawn were the sort of local policemen of the area. It was made up of mostly undead minions. It was a force that general policing. As far as I'm aware, the city came to its senses and eventually realised that lawlessness would sort itself out eventually. Realised that regardless of the amount of people and the melting pot of this culture, the more free to do what they wish, the less hassle would happen, which has proven to be true over time.
Do you know who the current leader of Dragonspark is?
No, not at the moment. We know that the Archmage responsible for keeping the city afloat must be here. However, we haven't had any interactions with them. The local government here is almost non-existent. There is no real face to it. And as far as I know, the last council meeting was around 150 years ago, when the last Lolth interactions came to pass. There was a meeting after that to help the rebuilding efforts. I'm not aware. Who's currently in charge of the city.
So there's no one that could also be working with those that are attempting to take down our church.
It's possible. It's highly possible. I would suspect that anyone that's in charge of this city would naturally lean to more our side of looking at things. However, I have no real proof of that other than the general atmosphere of the city and the penetration of the amount of undead that is allowed to be here. Speaks to a much more open-minded.
Cool. That's very useful. I was wondering.
Wonderful. I would suggest we start this evening. Tailing Maynark is my top priority. I would very much like to have him eliminated if he is doing anything to do with this cultish activity of the light. Have you got a list of things that you're trying to pull out the pocket?
Mostly just like rocks, sticks, leaves, grass.
Cool.
Just all kinds of random shit.
You'll find moss.
You'll find quite a lot of moss, yeah.
Moss.
You find moss. When you try and pull out a stick, you get his quarterstaff, which is his 6 foot long stick. Leaves, probably not.
Probably not.
Grass,
You might find some grass.
like
It's
tobacco or something as well. You might find in that vein of thinking.
I just want to like anything like buttons. I want to be surrounded by like the most weird random stuff.
Buttons, probably.
Like,
You probably get buttons.
I was going to say, you get assassin shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, you get shoes. Easily shoes. Yeah.
I'm just piling things around me. And just, I want to just be
Out of curiosity, are you putting the cloak on, or are you like just pulling from pockets?
Like it's sat in front of me, and then every time I have an idea, I'm reaching in. I like a child. I'm just sat laughing to myself, surrounded by random things.
Yeah.
I hope no one walks past.
No one's fussed.
Cool.
Yeah, you guys are ushered out of the room. Again, the smoke cloud envelops you as they leave.
Stan, can you put the smoke away?
Give me my clothes.
You could have got them back at any point. You didn't need to take them off. I would have let you go.
I was running.
As you walk round, you immediately trip up over like a random collection of shite all over the floor that has clearly came from your pockets. And as you like step, you like not aware of like you hit something that rolls, and then in the like panic to take the next step, you crush the moss underneath your feet, and you
Like
feel it.
moss.
You feel it like squelch between your toes in that horrible like.
I recognise these things. I stood in my own sweet moss. You're rummaging through my pockets.
Why is your clothes like this?
It's wizard timing.
I thought you were a monk.
I'm whatever I want to be.
That's not how it works.
It works any way you want when you're a wizard, cleric, sorcerer, paladin, druid.
We're only level
Fighter,
and that was
rogue.
definitely
Fighter, rogue,
Fighter, rogue,
Bard.
bard, warlock, wizard.
artificer.
I was just having fun. And you both like you locked us out of the room and then
I did
Neil
not
just
want to go up.
disappeared.
That would be. I miss him.
But you ran off and left
You
your
stole my
clothes.
clothes.
You can put the cloak back on if it's handed to you willingly.
Give me my clothes back.
Yeah.
So I put my clothes back on and just go, finally. I'm gonna go to start to grab it and go, there's an easier way to do this. Here we go. It's still dark for 10 minutes.
I was gonna say you cap the bottle, it stops growing.
Yeah, it's still dark for 10 minutes, but I'm like, no, I don't need to sit there and hold it.
You could if anyone could do any kind of gust or prestidigitation. Yeah. Can you prestidigitation or thaumaturgy?
Actually, if I have my
I
clothes
can-
back, can I just...
I can make
So you're opening your cloak and flapping it.
I can do that a few times, just further down the
Yeah.
hall.
Yeah.
Does dancing lights do anything?
It's bright. It's brighter than it was, but it's still like a deep fog cloud.
Can I try and use dancing lights?
Sure. You can kind of see a little better.
Let's say, actually, further down the hall, can I use Dragon's Breath, but without actually spewing out any acid? Should I just go like...
Counter argument. Can he try to do that and spit acid all over all of his stuff anyway?
Very little effort. Huge gust of wind. Clears the corridor.
I can see my thing. Steely back.
I wasn't stealing. I was just intrigued about how this worked. I
No,
don't.
steely. I know.
He
steely.
physically puts his hand on your lips
I
to go.
rub my little finger in it. I know what stealing is.
I bite
You
his
were
hand.
doing it.
Proper bite, or
Are you gonna take a finger off?
I just bite at his hand.
cool. Make me an attack roll.
20.
20. I no longer have a hand.
That doesn't beat your AC. That.
I wasn't trying to like hurt you anyway. I was just.
Are you wanting mayonnaise? I will mayonnaise. I'm aware.
You've done so much today.
I'm surprised you didn't take the mayonnaise jug.
Oh, I forgot. The jug wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
That's so upsetting because I would have, but I Soren fully thought it was the same thing.
No, you've seen his jug of alchemy.
Yeah,
It's a separate magic item. It's like a big jug that fills up with any liquid he asks for. It's anything that can be classed as a liquid can be spawned as long as it's a non-magical liquid.
That's really upsetting. Oh well,
Yeah.
I'll remember for next time.
Every night he's on his mugs for his clothes. Going, let me try that.
Take 10 gold every time you use the notes.
Yeah.
Stan would know he sleeps on his gold.
You do notice that you are 50 gold lighter. Specifically, Stan would probably be the only one that would immediately notice that.
Alright. I'm just gonna turn around and go, so, the 50 gold that's missing, would you happen to know anything about that? Well, shit, you're the one who held it.
Why would I steal 50 gold from you?
I'm richer than you. You're
Make me
poorer.
a deception check to see if he believes you, because that's compelling. Like, you've got so much gold. Make
No,
it
wait,
make
wait,
an insight.
Wait. 10.
Oh, that actually passed 6.
6. I mean, 50 gold's not a lot for someone who's
I
got a ton.
smell my scent on the gold.
No, not really. Well, you're not like sniffing Soren's pockets. Unless you would like to sniff Soren's pockets, and that would be a very different role.
I'm sniffing Soren's pocket. Where is it?
You see Stan tries to bloodhound you as a person, so like, do you let him like sniff at you?
No!
Right. Make me a dexterity check,
I'm doing it.
and you can make me either athletics or dexterity, or acrobatics.
Not 20.
Oh, 18.
There's no sniffling going on.
If he comes close, I'm like, I don't know if I'd shoot him. Would putting him in a headlock be a different type of role?
We can say that you're like roughhousing.
Yeah, fair.
You're definitely winning the like scuffle.
Why is your first instinct to sniff people, you freak?
I can smell my smell in the gold. You know this. I've told you about this many times before.
This is the first I've. Why would you be able to smell your scent?
It
How do
smells
you
of
scent?
moss, shoes, and me.
What do I smell like?
You.
What is that? What does that mean?
It smells like you.
You can describe what you think they smell like.
It smells like dirt, stress, sweat, and tears.
Vicious. Vicious description. You smell like stress.
Sorry, we just shattered him.
Oh,
Taking such
like, oh no, that makes sense.
Little wet dog in there too. He's just, he lets go very dejectedly. Just
Gives the 50 gold back, or
no, he just lets go with Stan.
right.
That was mean.
Cool.
You asked.
So you guys know that their job tonight is to tail Father Maynard to see if he makes contact with any of these filthy light bringers.
Now wait. Question.
I can say that you just go back to Oscar's to like regroup for a bit.
Probably not when we're at Oscar's, probably when we're on our way there. Just kind of double check we're not being.
Sure, make me a perception check.
What?
What?
I just remembered something.
What?
That's a new story to tell to Oscar.
17.
You don't feel like you're being followed.
Hey guys. Hi.
How did you do there?
How did you leave?
How did you help?
With out of character hi.
Ned Flanders appears randomly.
In this situation, where there is a cult with people, and there is the people trying to stop the cult,
Yeah.
and probably kill the cult. Whose side are we on?
Nito just kind of goes.
Come on, man. Isn't it fairly obvious?
No, No,
That's-
no. because we were like kind of friendly with the light people. And
Bad
then-
vibes.
yeah, I know, but so is the other place.
No, that's good vibes.
They were torturing people all night. All night.
It reminds me of home, okay?
That says a lot more about you than it does about anything else here, and I'm kind of concerned, but that's not my main issue right now. What are we doing? Like, what is our goal here? Because my goal is to go and have fun at a wedding, not to become part of a cult.
That sounds like cool though. I'll just follow yours as well then.
Immediately abandons the whole campaign to have a party.
But we have a couple weeks to bar until then.
Yeah, but I want to still be alive by then.
Don't die then.
I also want everyone else to still be alive and there to not be a war.
just, just stop war then.
To be fair, you are starting one.
Come on.
They're bringing up a good point. Like even Stan is saying don't start wars, but
Yeah,
or stop wars. But even you stopped considering. You're like, maybe they're trying to tell me to not start this one.
Realistically, what are the odds that the war happens before the wedding?
High. Very high.
I think we need a second.
It's up to Stan whether he finds that good or
I
bad
think
news.
we need a second
Or-
opinion. You know,
45
what are you?
people died this week.
And it's Thursday.
And
Yeah.
it's not even fucking weekend yet.
and it's not going to be a long war with not a lot of people in it, is it?
You are aware that the population is significantly higher than 45, though.
That's true, but like, if it's
Stan's
continuing
not
weekly-
dull enough to not know that.
If it's continuing weekly, 45 a week so far, and if it's increasing,
Look, if you want to be on the side of the cult, I'm sure I can find a way to deal with that internally. But I need to know what we're doing before we keep going and meeting with these very powerful people that could kill us very quickly. So I know, hey, maybe don't give all the information to this guy, or maybe are we just playing both sides until we figure out which one we want to be on? What are we doing?
Needle panic.
Nito was just like,
see, it's bold of you to assume that I know what I want. But realistically,
You ran basically naked to a cult leader to basically tell on us for meeting with the other guys.
well, I mean, you stole my clothes. But we have a little instinct now and then.
Soren.
Listen, I know I got my base instinct. Nothing wrong with that.
First of all,
Yes, there is.
there's a lot wrong with it. Speaking as someone who has a lot of experience controlling base instinct, you can
Whoa,
do
hang on there. What was that experience?
none of your fucking business.
My celibacy is my own business.
Is that another story still to Oscar?
No!
Sorry, DM.
Lost my
DM
point.
shouldn't interrupt roleplay.
I forgot.
As someone
Yes.
who has a lot of control over base instinct,
You took it too far out of context, and that means something different.
Stan was asking what you meant by base instinct.
No, before that. What was I going to say before I went to that point?
Don't rely on instinct.
No!
That pretty much was where you were heading.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I can't remember. It's fine. Soren's forgotten as well. No, I've remembered. I never used to smell like stress until I met you. This is entirely
lie.
your fault.
That's not a lie. You're a threat person. You smelled it when we met.
Yeah, because I met
You smelled of stress during that active murder investigation we were at. Well, you know, when we first met and your fun evening was turned into a horrifying experience.
Yeah, come on. Not all of it's my fault.
A good majority of it is. Good, like,
You seem like you need to adapt a bit better for this situation.
Nito is just standing very quietly.
What's going on in Needle's mind at the moment? Because I know that there's a lot of external stimuli at the moment, but Needle is on both sides of this. Like,
Yeah.
you seem to be helping the side of the light, and you also definitely have ties to the previous darkness.
I think Nito would smell stress. And it's just getting worse. But I think she'd kind of just be like silent, and then I agree with Soren. And then just
Nope.
kind of doesn't say anything else.
You agree that we need to sort out exactly what's going on first.
Yes.
thank you.
We turn to Brock and go, so child, do you side with me?
They Brocken immediately just hugs Soren's leg.
What happened to the Pledge of Allegiance? What happened to your godly powers? I see how it is. I guess I won't be following that person tonight.
Yes, you will. We need to.
No.
I'll die. It was. Hang on.
No.
No. I'm being serious. I will probably die if we don't.
No.
I'm confused about why you're upset about this. I was asking you what side you stand on. You can't just shrug. You have to have something.
I don't hear you.
What does Stan smell like right now? I need to know.
What do
Does
you,
it smell like bread?
I think in a strange way, Stan is the least filled with scent. Or it's hard to track. They've got that odd reptilian smell about them, and they don't smell clean. But it's not like a sweat because they don't sweat. It's more of a general level of dirt.
You need a bath. Out there, you need a bath. Maybe that would help you think about what you want to do. Just calm yourself down. Be stressed.
Kind of like soil and metal.
Tell me that when you stop smelling the stress. Tears. Dirt. Oh, we finally gonna kill the guy. I don't know. You signed up to that. You remember.
I didn't sign any legally binding contract.
No, but why if you didn't do it?
To be fully fair.
Great argument. Nah, but don't be wide.
Gosh.
It's like shit, the unbreakable Scottish vow. Yeah, but don't be wide.
To be 100% transparent, the deal you made with us was you would give us the money that you owed us if we said we would help you. I said I would help you and you gave me the money. That deal is done now. There was nothing else to it.
owed you.
I think a small part of Stan realizes that wording is correct. The way that they have expressed that deal.
Allegiance to
Yeah, but you didn't specifically say anything other than I might be wrong, but I feel like Soren's interpretation could be a valid argument. Like you said that you require them to say that they pledge allegiance.
Yeah.
Like at no point did you follow up and be like pledging allegiance will entail XYZ. And they have technically fulfilled that by being your ally currently. Like, that could be a form of allegiance. Friendship could be a form of allegiance. You didn't say, be my minion, or anything like that. I think, especially with your background, there's a small part of you that's like, yeah, the wording of that could have been better.
I'm not saying that we have to choose something specific to do right now. I just would like some clearer information before we go into these big, serious meetings with people where we're trading information back and forth, and I don't know what I can and cannot say. Especially with you, I don't know what I can and can't say that will put you in danger.
Or won't.
Or won't. I don't know what's safe to talk about, and it's causing a lot of stress. And I don't deal overly well with insane amounts of stress. And this is already becoming too much. I just want to come to a party. I would also like to go to a party. I've never been to a party.
I could enjoy one of these weddings. Should be fun.
I'm sure I can get Needle an invitation to the wedding.
I think so.
Well, Stan's coming anyway.
I know.
I think a key thing, Soren, is that if your friend, I assume he's living here, you can make sure that this is a safe place for him to start married life.
To clarify, he's working here, and you know that the wedding, having the discussion yesterday, you know that the wedding is taking place on their hometown of Stratos and Nimbus.
They're just. So, but still, I would like them to survive.
Especially
My
if
friend is currently employed to guard against the murders and the plots.
exactly.
And I'm slightly worried. I have the utmost faith in him and his abilities, but I don't want to come to a point where I have to be on one side or the other against you or him. So,
It worries me that I don't know why they are killing people at all. But there was something about the high elves that deeply disturbed me.
that was fucking weird, right? They were weird. That was so fucking weird.
The fact that they clearly just want to kill anything that they don't like.
Well, that was a Bahamut.
Yeah.
The others were still really weird, though.
They were it worries me, and I don't think they like me very much. And I don't feel like the church likes me very much, if I was honest about my feelings. Either way. So I will rather just go with you two, member of them, and see where that goes. So if you want to go to a wedding, I will go to a wedding. And I will make sure that your friend is safe before the church or the wedding. And Nito just kind of goes silent.
You do know, Needle, that there is a third option for you. Like, you do have a third thing that you've got to be doing, but it's up to you whether or not you would mention anything to do with that.
So the main thing at the moment is tailing Father Maynard, and I also would like to find out why these people are being murdered, because there's so many of them. It would feel sloppy if it was just random or for fun. There doesn't seem to be anything connecting them at the moment, but it would be in everyone's best.
There's a fair few zombie workers around here. For that.
Yeah, that's true, but I feel like if it was for them, it wouldn't be such a
A
shocking
local thing.
thing. Yeah, like there are people hiring bodyguards from to guard against murders. Like if it was just to be undead, I feel like it would be such a prevalent and spoken about thing. So look into that a bit. Sort of content.
We will have to drill main on it though. Because I think that even though I like Antioch, I don't think she would be happy if I didn't deliver on that.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not suggesting that we do anything to put you in danger, and if we have to play both sides for a while, that's fine. I just want to know where everyone stands in the long run, so I know what to expect.
At this point, can I get a little DM sort of vibe check? Stan, what you thinking?
Stan is thinking he wants to go to that wedding. He enjoys the vibe of the wolf cult. Doesn't really vibe with the elves. Kind of vibes with the Batman thing, but also wants to kill them. But as much as he doesn't want to admit it, he will tell that guy to make the stress smells go down and to, stay.
Soren, where are you leaning at the moment?
He's so stressed. He kind of doesn't vibe with either of the sides. He just wants to know where everyone. He will probably like if Needle turned around and said, "No, I need to side with these bad guys. We're going to kill a bunch of people." He would probably be up for that as long as Orlea was safe. he just wants to know what's happening, so he isn't caught off guard, and he knows he doesn't want to actively put people in danger by saying the wrong thing or being in the wrong place. So that's kind of where his stress is lying at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what's happening.
And Needle.
Stress out.
Yeah.
Um.
There's a lot of big feelings going on for Needle at the moment.
Yeah. I feel like she's very much having that kind of thing of, I don't get what the church is doing right now. They're not being discreet, even though they're getting on at Maynard for not being discreet, which is a bit weird. So she's a bit like, I want to make sure I know what Maynard is actually doing so that I can better protect them. Which is also why she didn't mention anything about isn't there already this fun? kind of thing. So it's kind of like, wow. But she's also like curious about normal elves. Because she very much kind of likes people that are more like, oh, vanity kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's secretly very much like.
Yeah.
So she kind of.
I think you're the only person that vibed well with the high elf sort of. Oh yes, we have flaunts around this afternoon. That's what we are doing.
Yeah, she's like, oh my god, I wish.
Yeah.
Which is why she wants to go to the wedding, because she's like, wedding.
Yeah, I think there's a very strong part of you that, like, from a drow ancestry, the idea of luxury to a drow is like handcrafted armor, excellent protection. And I think there's a small part of you that's like never really got that. And I think there's a small part of you that's wanted to sort of dress nicer, think more about the colour, think more about what you could be doing to sort of spread good vibes.
Yeah,
I think that's something that
practical long hair of all time.
yeah, I think there's a part of you that's like realizing that there's another way that you could be behaving that is perfectly acceptable. Yeah. Wonderful. And Brochan is quiet.
He's been working hard all day. He's
sleepy. He's sleepy.
He's eepy.
He's EP.
Eepy guy.
Bruins well.
Yeah, so as you're sort of making your way around, you get to Oscar's and the Giant's Hammer. Yeah, do you guys just go for a long rest, or you want to do anything else with this evening? You're sort of like 6 p.m, so it's not unreasonable for you to just have dinner and settle down for the night. You know that tonight you're going to be tailing someone, so depending on what time you want to go out, like 6 p.m, if you were to take a full long rest, that would be what, 2 a.m, you would start being able to tail things. Any later than that, and you're maybe talking about not taking a long rest tonight.
There are 3 things maybe to do. Were we given individual rooms, or were we sharing? I can't remember.
They said they had 2 rooms spare.
Okay.
So it's up to you as well, like how you want to divvy up that. It could be 2 and 2 or 3 and 1.
You want your own room? Okay. In that case, I'll probably put the child to bed. Since
He's EP.
He's EP. I need a cat, so he's like
all the sleep.
And I will take the needle kind of over, leave the child and just kind of move her like away. And like I'm just gonna plonk myself like cross-legged on the floor and kind of gesture to sit. And I've got one like long braid that's got a couple of significant beads in it, and I'm gonna undo that, check the beads, make sure they're not cracked or anything, and then I'm gonna redo it. Would you turn around? Okay. Turns around, so you're sat back facing me. I'm gonna pull out from my bag. I've kept them pretty neatly. I'm going to pull out the flowers from the Feywild like plants that we had, and I'm going to just thread a bunch into Needle's braids.
Yeah.
Thanks.
the beads I have in my braid. I've got 3, and I'm gonna pull out of my bag. I have, and it's cracked. These my sister had all of these colored beads when we were children. I have long hair. The last time I saw her, she gave me these. Um, the top one, it's dark blue. That's from my father. The one under that is my mother's. It's pink, and the smallest one, the bottom, is from my sister. It's like blood red, and it's cracked. That's from her. It was a silly thing me and her used to do when we were younger. We would braid flowers and beads into each other's hair. So she seemed to really like the elves, and I can't give you all fancy clothes. Great flowers for you.
Nido just like doesn't say anything, but she just kind of smiles and is trying not to cry. So she just kind of like
Put the other bead back away, and then just like sit awkwardly, because that was a lot. Sorry. What time do you want to go up the skydive?
So just a point of clarification, are you taking a long rest and going at 2 a.m. or are you, because you've not done anything that would not constitute as long rest behaviour. It was about 6 p.m. so easily, especially with the like the idea of like not necessarily sleeping but just resting, you guys could take a long rest and have it be 2 a.m. or you could skip the long rest and risk a level of exhaustion. Yeah.
Do we know when?
You would lose that if you take this long rest.
Do we know when he's like going?
You didn't get any other information. You guys left immediately. You know that you were told that he finishes his shift after nightfall. But you're not sure what time that would be. You're not sure if he would like immediately leave his shift and then leave.
How far can you connect to Obi? And
I believe you can give him commands within 100 feet, and if he is anywhere on this plane of existence, you can see through his eyes.
if you give
Or
him
it might be 1 mile,
yeah,
actually.
mile.
Yeah, 1 mile you can see between his eyes.
If you give him a command and send him away and he goes beyond the 100 feet, do they still carry out that command?
Yes, you just can't give any new commands.
Could you tell him to watch? To go to the place and wander around outside and watch for when he leaves, so we know when to tail him. Perhaps. I think so. He could come back and let you know when leaves. Just because if we don't know when he's leaving, when he's doing things, it's all good to go and try and find him at 2 a.m. But there's a big city to search for. We don't know where he might go, and if they're meeting in secret for things, like if he is meeting these people from Bahamut and it's a secret, I doubt he will go to the place where all the Bahamut people are meeting. He'll probably be somewhere else. So, does Obi need to rest?
No.
Oh, it's just alright. Okay.
Obi can never gain levels of exhaustion and can never gain any kind of disadvantage from not resting.
Oh, so he can then.
Yeah. So he's a creature of the abyss.
It is 1 mile within like the kind of range.
Yeah, easily.
Okay. I'm not saying like you should stay in him for the entire night. Weird choice of words. But just like he could come back and kind of give you a general direction if he leaves or something, just so that we have essentially an alarm system set up, and we can relax for the evening. Yeah, he could. Well, he could just find out. Also, warm there. Well, I'm going to find some food. This has been lovely.
So, just point of clarification: you're taking a long rest, and you're sending Bo to go and watch for now.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We don't have to actually be sleeping during a long rest. Do we?
No, that's what I said. So you can.
Yeah.
Um,
The barracks here. This is the barracks area. Or is it just like
so this has been made into a barracks, but it's just a building that they happens to rent. You would guess some sort of like maybe like a old groundskeeper thing that's maybe not really relevant because there's no real grounds to keep anymore. The sort of urban expansion has sort of gotten out of control for that.
do they do like kind of meals or is it just
Yeah,
everyone-
yeah, it's just a sort of big family pot roast meal type thing. It's like a big stew with lots of crusty bread. It's nice. It's relatively cheap food. Military food. Anybody with any kind of soldier background would be really familiar with this type of meal. I think Stan as well, with your tribal background, very common to have a big family style meal. One big pot, lots of little dippy things. Yeah, absolutely. You all have your eating, and because you're not sleeping or having any kind of, and because you're not in the wild, you're in a proper allied location. No need to roll.
Yay! That's I'm so happy.
So one time we're going to be in an allied location, it's make a roll, but the entire camp is jump.
Yep, anyone with any exhaustion can remove 1 point. If that brings you down to 0, you are no longer exhausted. I believe Brochan is also back at 0 as well now. Yeah. Happy days. Finally at max health. Yeah. As you're sort of resting, you've all got your own rooms. I presume you sort of split off at some point. Stan, you easily accomplish anything that you're trying to do. Needle, you're sort of going through all your old stuff, like just unpacking in this new location. Yeah, I think everybody sort of goes through and just relaxes for a wee bit. No weird visions, no horrible dreams, no stressful environments. It's nice.
Horrible dreams. Who would have those?
Not us.
You had great dreams. They
Yeah.
were physically draining, but you had really exciting dreams.
Yeah, I found who I was looking for.
Yeah. So, around like 1 a.m., you start getting little pings from Bo. Like more images than conversations, and it's like a little clip of Maynark like leaving the building, and then it's like him following, and then you get another little ping. He's like walking through the streets, but he doesn't seem to be like rushing anywhere, and within a mile is quite a long radius. So you wait like 10-15 minutes, still kind of just wandering around. It looks as if he is taking an incredibly long and convoluted route. Or he's just going for a wander. You're not sure. 2 a.m. rolls around, you finish your rest. What would you all like to do? You're still getting, every now and again, you get a little ping of where Maynark is. He's still within a mile of you.
Is he nearby?
Yeah, within a 5-10 minute walk.
I guess I'd go to the others and be like, he's on the move, by the way. But
For how long?
He's been wandering around, possibly aimlessly, for about an hour.
Okay. Should we go find him?
yes, he's nearby.
Good to know. I'm assuming stealth is the way to go. We're not just gonna like casually bump into him.
Yes, he's
Oh, hey,
just
imagine meeting you here at 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
he's just walking around the streets.
Okay.
Do the streets look empty?
Mostly, to be honest with you, this is the first time you're exploring this place at night. And it does have that similar vibe of the daytime, like as sort of a dark Victorian era type city. This is like the buildings are imposing and there are big shadows and the moonlight shines through the fog. It's that very classic motif of not necessarily threatening, but definitely allows for some things to go on that would not be necessary if they were controlling the weather like all the other cities. Like if they were keeping it clear, a lot less shady stuff would be going on. But there's sort of that low level of fog, low level of darkness all over the city.
You can see the sky through the fog, did you say?
You can, but you can barely see the starlight.
You see the
Yeah, you can see both moons.
sorry.
As you guys are about to leave,
Leave me and my astrology alone. Oh, astrology. Dude. In and out of character. My notes have just become like random quotes. And so far, my favorite ones are you smell like stress, slack, and tear. I'm a seagull. Both from
I am a
Crab.
seagull.
That's just very quotable.
Very relatable. But I relate the most with I am a seagull.
What the visual thing that one? Favorite moments. Oh gosh. Oh my fourth and I'm staring at me.
No, our sponsorship. No.
No. Do you have a pedestal on the table?
We're a Elvin pedestal.
I have to try and explain it. I don't know if I told you, but I like explained the whole like original thing that happened with the mayonnaise, but forgot to mention that it happened like they knew we were talking about D&D, but he thought you spiked my drink with mayonnaise out of character.
One
and
day.
concerned.
One day.
I know I live in fear.
Listen. I'm even safe with that. And I'm not going to use that mayonnaise because that might kill you if we kind of need you for the game. But
Kind
one
of.
day.
Kind of.
No, that might actually be alright. I think.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
got a
think we've
date
done
from
the math.
It's in the
See, I think we've done the math. I think it's fine.
Yeah, for a while. Have you opened it?
No. Double brittle. Wanted to mold.
Well, it's got the thing on it. hasn't it? Wait, what was the original reason for this? After a horrible night of nightmares, we all went down to breakfast and Stan saw in fear with mayonnaise and then put honey in everyone else's. So that was the start of the age-old rivalry. Hating each other.
I was like, wait, when did we get a physical mayonnaise? Did
Physical,
you just bring it?
physical mayonnaise was the first time we played it in person.
as you guys are leaving, the barracks, you can see that there are still people of the Giant's Hammer not wandering around. They look like they're obviously as bodyguards. They're still on alert. They're still patrolling, and you can see that there is one person who is like in the courtyard. They look to be on their knees, praying. As you sort of go closer, you can see that there's quite a lot of darkness about their outfit, and they have a big holy symbol on their chest. If anyone would like to make a religion check to try and recognise it. If not, of course, you are all free to just wander on by.
Love it if it's
10.
behaves, yeah. That one.
Are you trying to work out what it is?
Yeah, I can tell if it was a 6 or 9. It's 8.
8. It looks to be two circles, one of them overlapping the other one. Oh, really?
Does it look like? I know I obviously failed the religion check, but is it just like two circles, or does it look like it would represent animals?
You don't know. Could be.
for a split second, and turn around, see everyone stop and focus on this guy and go, well, I suppose if we hear one, we're following someone. If we don't, someone dies.
Dates are agree with
Stan ever.
Stan ever, but yeah.
Cool. You leave them to their prayers. They don't seem to be disturbed by you in any way. And as you leave, you can see that they eventually sort of. It's odd. The further away you get from them, the darker everything starts to become.
Ooh, okay.
And
Just
then
out
you.
of curiosity, while we were walking past, were the prayers in common or another one?
They weren't speaking. They were
Oh,
just.
praying.
They had their hands in front of them, silently, head bowed.
When you're saying we moved away from them,
Mhm.
and is it getting darker everywhere or just around them, like when we look
It looks as if they are generating light.
light? Oh, okay. I was.
As you leave,
Mhm.
your environment gets darker.
Gets darker.
The further away from them you go, the darker it becomes.
Okay.
To a point.
Yeah. Okay. That
Of course, that's good. We are back to
yeah. Whereabouts is?
Is there a way to check?
You kind of a vague sense where Bo is. You get vague directions where things are. And yeah, it's nice and easy for you to just kind of wander on by. How stealthy are we being? Because I will remind everybody that the rules for stealth are that if you're traveling in stealth, you're moving at half speed. So
I guess probably not too stealthy until we
get there.
Yeah.
Also, before we get there, just reminding everyone. Not that I mean, there's no guards or anything patrolling right now, but just reminding everyone, if we get caught by anyone other than Maynard, try and come up with something that doesn't make us sound like the assassins that are killing everyone at night. Just putting it out there. Be not suspicious. We're doing the night shift.
My name's Stan the Dipper. I roam these Victorian streets at night, looking for shops that are open. I've got Stan the Dipper because I dip things in mayonnaise, of course.
I know you're making exactly the reference, but my first thought was like, you're skinny dipping and you're
Yeah, that's me.
Stan the Dipper. He goes around nakedly stealing people's bathwater.
What, do you have a problem with that?
No problem with
There are no
saying
laws
things
here.
about you.
Cool. So you're kind of going at regular-ish speed until you're pretty close by,
Yes.
and then you're going to stealth. So make me a stealth check.
Oh, we'll say 80. 80.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So 16 is the lowest. Wonderful.
It's okay.
Just make a.
And then I get murdered.
So the shadows we go.
See how easy it is to be stealthy without using a giant cloud.
I'm not being essentially naked. Think of this.
I feel like it would be an issue. Not normal.
I'll stand in every room.
I learned so many things about you, and I liked it better when you were some weird stranger that I would
Conversation later.
I'm whispering all of this, but the
No
microphone won't pick
talk.
it up if I do actually whisper.
No talk.
Okay,
Seek
okay.
Very aggressive.
Yeah, I get it from you.
Wonderful. So you guys are wandering on by, and yep. So things are progressing fairly smoothly. How long would you like to follow him?
As long as it takes, or until it goes back to church.
Cool. About an hour and a half of him still wandering. It looks as if he's just walking around.
See what ever is over.
Make me a perception check. Actually, make me perception, and then depending on how well you do it, I might give you advantage on an insight.
Set.
You have a straight insight check.
Okay.
Also,
Nat 20 for a 23.
Definitely not undead. You can see him breathing. Just straight up, you know that immediately disqualifies undead. He's moving naturally. If this is a possession, incredibly well hidden. From the distance that you're at, from the shadow, of course you can't be sure. He's moving naturally. Doesn't look like he's sleepwalking. Doesn't look like he's undead. Not to say that it's not a possession, but from this distance, you would guess not.
does it look like he's looking for anything? Is he making any pauses? Like,
Make me a perception check.
2.
Doesn't look like it.
Can I hear anything perfectly?
Perception check. 21. You realise that he is wandering. He's definitely wandering. And he's not really stopping to do anything. But he's walking. It's not a pattern. But his steps are odd.
Intrigued. I can't hear anything.
Not really. You can. It's mostly that you spot the rhythm of his walking as a little odd.
Can I pick up a little rock and throw it over to the other side of him and see if he moves stronger?
Sure. What would you like to try and do with this rock? Is this a distraction attempt, or is this like a intimidation to see if he's like jumpy, or
see if he's actually waiting for someone? Gonna throw it down an alleyway that he's walking
Cool.
by.
maybe a stealth check with disadvantage for chucking a rock while hiding, to see so that if whatever his reaction is, he doesn't immediately spot that it came from you.
Disadvantage is 22.
22. Yeah, you chuck the rock, and he doesn't seem to have any real visible reaction.
Is it a spell? Is it a command?
You don't know.
you see, it's like the rhythm of his steps are odd. In what kind of way? Like, is it unnaturally like rhythmic? Is it?
You would say rhythmic. Yeah. You would say that it's a cadence that you would find it uncomfortable to mimic.
Smell anything strange on the scent that he leaves behind?
How close would you like to try and get?
Within,
I'll say at the moment you're within 50 feet.
let's see, but within 10.
Within 10.
Within 10.
Make me another stealth check. Because you're not with disadvantage. The only reason I'm asking is because the last one was disadvantage.
That one's a 13. Not liberated.
Is there anything you can do to bump that, or are you happy with the 13?
I'll take that.
He starts as you get close, and stops walking, and turns to see what was going on. You have kind of a last second to, like, you're in the shadow. He knows you're there, but he doesn't see you yet. I'm giving you a split second decision. You can either bolt or you can face him.
Is there a bin or an alleyway next to it?
I'm saying you can either run or you can talk to him.
You know what? Anyone knows that here. Talk to him. He's like a reasonable guy.
Cool. You don't step out the shadow, but as he whirls round to see you, there's that immediate, like, you're at a pit of, fuck, I'm caught. Like, that's immediate. It's not, I can run and hide. Do you step out to see him, or are you going to wait until he addresses you?
I'm gonna wait until he arrests me.
He sort of pauses, and he stares into the shadow. And what language do you speak?
Abyssal, Common, Draconic, and Yip-Yak.
What is that?
In Abyssal, you hear, declare thyself.
Delightful.
And I'm guessing you two don't speak Abyssal. In a horrific guttural language, you hear just like the scraping and clacking of like teeth and bone.
Delightful. Stan's gonna walk out and go, ah, hello, I am.
Do you answer in Abyssal?
Yeah.
You hear Stan mimic the sounds.
Stan can walk out and go, ah, hello, we are both in the same alleyway, it seems. I am searching for any loot. Have you seen any?
Make me a deception check. I will say with advantage because you do speak the language that he was going to threaten you in.
Delightful.
I'd only be useful if he was writing it. Because I can read all
With
right.
advantage, it's only a 13.
13. Immediately you understand that he did not believe you. His face remains pretty much impartial, but you can see that his eyes are crystal clear. Like, this is someone who would be hard to fool at the best of times, and you realise that your lie was not that convincing. But even you, from someone who knows that you spread a lot of mistruths, usually pretty good at lying, you understand that was a bad call. Not a bad call, like he's immediately violent, but you're like, I could have thought of something better there. That was 2 days later, you'll be like, oh, fuck, I should have said this.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm going to very slowly still hidden reach for my crossbow.
Mhm.
And I'm not like doing anything, but in case I'm ready.
Absolutely. You see that his eyes are that crystal clear, piercing gaze. You do notice he does have both eyes.
Yeah.
Which is something I'll let your nat 20 insight, because you were specifically looking for fakes and issues,
Yeah.
carry over to this isn't an undead thing, but it's not a main arc.
I'm just gonna go, alright, you got me.
So in Abyssal, it repeats, state thy business.
Alright, you got me.
And again, you guys hear this just, it's like nails on chalk with teeth chattering and guttural, like, hissing.
So, I noticed that your rhythmic footsteps is a bit weird. Noticed you were a bit inconspicuous, so I tried to get closer with it 11 you to make sure you weren't going to collapse and die or something. And I did not expect this outcome.
He takes 2 steps closer, and again in Abyssal, your kindness and discretion will be appreciated. And then turns to leave.
Okie dokie. I'm just gonna dip into an alleyway, crouch, grab a bin bag, wear the bin bag, and go after him.
Give me a stealth with, I'm going to say, disadvantage and a -5.
That's
For-
alright, I
For
believe.
following him immediately after he's
Got it.
confronted you and caught you.
If my math's working correctly, that's an 8.
8.
Which is not
Immediately.
equivalent to nat 20.
Immediately, it turns to you again, and in Abyssal, state thy name.
"'Tis I, bag of the bin. You do not recognize this voice, for it is another that you have never spoke to. I am curious about you and your habits."
In Abyssal, state thy business.
"I noticed you, and I couldn't help but being curious. So I came to ask what you are doing."
He takes 2 steps closer. Your kindness and your discretion will be greatly appreciated. And he turns to leave.
Can I tell half of these?
Sure. So I'm assuming you guys are staying within that 50-foot bubble, well hidden. And you guys hit stealth checks carry because you're not doing anything new yet.
How close does it get to Stan? Because I don't know.
Stan was within 10 feet, and he takes 2 steps closer, but then he turns to leave. So it's within, I would say, 9 feet. It's not that unreasonably close.
Before he turns away and leaves, go, wait, may I please get your name? I think I may have fallen for you.
Oh no! Oh no!
Make me a straight. I'm gonna say, give me a straight charisma to just see how,
This could be the best eyeliner.
like, your force of presence, to see if you can overcome whatever going on here. You understand that something weird's happening.
Yeah.
To see if your force of pure charisma can overpower whatever this situation is, to see if you can provoke a new response.
Oh!
4. It ignores you and moves on.
You know what? Didn't work. Because I hadn't truly embraced the bag of bin light.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in the entire bin and roll after him. Wait, please, I can put on my Sunday best clothes.
You're rolling at half speed, so he is escaping rapidly by just walking normally. Being prone always makes you at half speed. As what it is.
I were to use 4 limbs to clamber after it and have the bin on my back.
Do you have a climbing speed?
No.
Then
But
you
I-
are half movement
but I am
anytime you're
very
considered
good with
prone.
my-
Anytime you're considered prone, you're half movement. I don't make the rules.
What if I wear the bin as a hat?
And stand up straight, then you can move at normal speed.
This is like
So you guys watch this bizarre abyssal interaction, and then Stan's response is for all of his bones to crack. He almost turns into a spider at one point, like clacking along the floor, and you can hear that horrible bones shifting as usual whenever he does this weird shit. And then he just stands up, places the bin on his head, and follows him.
just possessed Stan.
What do you try and say telepathically?
I'm gonna say hello.
You hear a horrific string of guttural language in response.
Can you break that down?
You would be familiar with your telepathic ability that it should translate.
Oh.
Like
so
this
it's not
this is an
telepathy.
abnormality to you.
Oh.
You've never interacted with anything. Even like animals, you get like clear pictures and emotional level
Is
reach
it
out.
possible to get images?
You're not getting anything other than this horrible clacking.
I guess I'd just be like, are you Maynard?
A string of clacking.
Oh. Can I come out of it and try to replicate it should Stan ever comes back? Really
Sure.
bad
Make me a performance check to see how well you can remember it. Are you trying to get Stan's attention right now, or are you like letting Stan follow? Because at the moment, Stan, you're within 15 feet of him, and you're following in the open.
I guess I'll like telepathically talk to Stan.
Sure. Give me a performance check to see if you can mimic the sounds.
I got a 9.
You hear in Abyssal in your head with very little, like, there's no real context as to what's going on. You just hear in Abyssal, state thy bread.
Business. Oh.
Sourdough.
And you hear, like, it's like overtones of clacking, but you hear Stan's voice clearly through it saying sourdough. So you're not entirely sure what that means to your
I
response.
guess I'll telepathically say, Stan, tell me what that sentence means.
Oh, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, when they say tell me what the sentence means, you hear Needle's voice.
Okay. I was gonna go, oh, you asked me what kind of bread I am. Or what kind of bread I use. What kind of bread you asked?
So so the first part, Stan, was state your something.
Oh yeah, you really like saying state your business.
Thank you. I'm gonna come back.
But that's the first time you've heard that translation at all.
Yeah.
Because Stan did not bother translating at all. And I will also say, Soren said to you that they feel like they possessed Stan. And when you invade their mind, Stan, I presume you continue walking in a straight line.
I'm still trying to flirt with it.
Yeah,
Please wait.
yeah. You can hear Stan like making these guttural sounds and chattering back at it.
Can Needle hear what Stan is saying, like in like a translation in his head? Does she know that he's trying to flirt with who she thinks
So
is
the
Father Nick?
the telepathic ability isn't like a channel that you can
Yeah.
open.
Oh,
It's
okay.
more like texting.
Okay.
It's not watching, it's texting.
Okay, makes sense.
It's not working so then at all, is it?
No. But he's also not being any kind of way towards you other than like now it's not stopping you from following it.
What an idea. If I walk up, like not even hiding, right? Walk up, try and touch him. Can I use Gaze of Two Minds to see what he's potentially?
Sure, let me look up Gaze of
Seems
Two
a little
Minds.
bit out of it, so it might be.
Just picturing Soren still hidden, just watching Needle also just walk out, and now is convinced that
I might die.
Everyone.
I may die
Is that?
because I can't see anything with my own senses when I do that.
You're just gonna. Oh.
Make sure I don't die.
The first I can't see, he's looking.
So
He's
I'm
not
blinded and deafened.
He's just following the sound.
I can see for his eyes, so I can see if he's trying.
see, because if you'd said anything in common, Soren probably wouldn't think of that. But
They might not speak common.
Stan acts possessed anyway, and then also adding on to the fact that everything has just been said in Abyssal, and then you just started following this guy.
So you touch him and you're stealthy enough that you get up to the point where you can touch him. You place your hand on his shoulder or touch his arm somewhere, and you feel that pulse of your magic reach out, and you get back. It's not that the spell failed. It's like as if conditions are incorrect. Is the sort of reading that you get. And Maynard turns to you, and this horrible clacking sound comes out his mouth, and he grabs your hand hard and twists your arm away.
I should.
What?
Sure.
Wait, what do they say?
State thy business, leave this place.
Deflect arrow, that arrow.
I don't think your ability lets you do it on other people. I think it says you use your reaction to take an arrow that would target you or something.
The spell description says as long as the creature is on the same plane of existence.
I will say that your specific ones are you touch a willing humanoid.
Oh, he's not a willing guy.
Or he's not a humanoid, one of the two.
Oh, no.
Stan, am I correct in saying that it has,
Arrow I am hit by.
yeah, it has to be something that you're hit by before you can
You're
deal
gonna
with
see
that?
Dan make it. No, dive at it.
He started being aggressive.
25 to hit. Let me just bring up the...
Miss.
Was it enough to do damage, or was he just kind of like, no?
No, it wasn't enough to do damage. It's not like smacking you out the way, it's more like restraining you. And that way, like, if you grab the police officer, he'd be like, nope, sort of thing.
Soren is stressed and high strong, leave him alone. He's.
He just shot someone. We might get accused of the murders.
Do you think he'd state his business? Yeah.
No, I am.
It's a bit late to ask now.
I mean, it depends.
Like, you ask.
On a 25,
Yeah.
miss. You see that something happens, and from the shadows around this creature, something solidifies and the arrow is consumed.
That's a neat trick.
Fun.
Well, we're all caught now. Might as well have a conversation.
I will say, you're not an initiative.
Dude, we've had a nice conversation.
And all he did was twist your arm, and he is holding you with your arm away from him.
I'm gonna say, in Abyssal, sorry, they don't speak Abyssal. Can I act as some sort of translator unless you speak common?
Blank.
So, what's your business with that fine fellow right here?
I am checking if he's okay and what his business is.
I think this person is checking to see if you are dying okay or not okay, and wonder what you're doing up truly.
Our business is our own.
You're a hive made fancy. Yeah. Well, I can't argue with that. Will you please let my friend's arm go now? Must be hindering you.
He doesn't. He keeps hold and starts walking away, attempting to drag you.
I walk with him.
You now see that Needle is also following this creature.
Oh, come on now. Stan started flirting first, and now yous are holding hands.
How close are I to them? Because I was still trying to sting it.
This is not concerning at all.
How close would you like to be? How close would you like to be, and would you still like to be hidden?
No, I'm going to come out being hidden. I'm
Okay.
going to try and grab Needle. I don't want him to it seems so I'm so stressed.
I'll say, as you go to grab him, I go to grab you, and like, oh no, you've seen what just happened. Gone, you know that.
I'm not going to grab him, I'm going to grab Needle.
Same difference.
Okay.
From the shadow, stepping out, holding an incredibly long double-bladed scimitar,
What?
which is a blade on this end and a blade on the other end.
Buckmall style.
Pretty much, you hear, "Release them," and you turn to see a one-eyed drow with long braided hair.
Jump him.
And that's where we're going to call this section. So next session, we are going to roll initiative.
Oh my god!
Outside of initiative are we on?
And that's where we're going to call it for this week. I'm going to hit the stop recording.